Yo, yo, yo. I am Dylan Oros, your friendly neighborhood writer and developer. And this is the introduction to the MythoSuite, which is a quattro or foursome of creative software tools that I've created via the wondrous new alchemy of vibe coding. Now, I am someone who has a lot of experience making websites, writing websites, structuring aesthetically how websites should look and flow. So I have a lot of experience with design and aesthetics, and I'm also just a user of what I would call the more aesthetically pleasing and digitally beautiful, if you will, programs such as Trello, Google Keep, and early Evernote, which are some of my favorite all-time apps and like things that I've found very useful in my life as an artist, as a creator, as a writer. Taking notes is like vital to the art and the long-term game of writing, because I take notes and then maybe years later those become stories or novels. That's actually been the process. And so notes in these apps are just they're ways for me to interface with my mind in a more coherent way. It's almost like Trello, especially. Like Trello is where I outline all of my novels, and where I've taken all my notes and kind of compiled my stories, and how I've created like somewhat of an assembly line of how I do my writing, where it's like, okay, what's the next story? What's the next chapter? Oh, it's in the Trello. What am I looking at? It's like I've almost turned it into a factory type of production, which is why I've been here at the early start of my publishing career. I've only been seeking out becoming published in the last 2.5 years now. And I've now gone into the self-publishing world, and I've written a lot of books, and I've published a lot of books in quick succession, which may look dubious to some people, and I perfectly understand why, but it's really just a culmination of, okay, I'm going to start writing novels. I have these ideas, I solidified them, and I worked on them religiously and day after day, and it was something that became a momentum unto itself, because I started to get better and understand the story better and get better at like, how do I write this story? How does this come into being? The intimidation fell away to ecstasy, and oh my God, I can't wait to write the ending. I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to get to the next thing. So that's all just to say that how you organize your notes, how you organize your mind with regard to creative efforts, like ideas that you want to explore as an artist. And obviously, like, all of this is coming from my perspective as a writer of fiction. I write fantasy, horror, science fiction, kind of like magical realism, fantastique. I write all sorts of stuff, but I kind of say that my inner ethos is like the Twilight Zone. I'm also a huge fan of anime and manga. So Hunter x Hunter is a manga that's like hugely inspirational to me, and is basically like inspired and is playing a factor in everything I write. It's one of those things. Clive Barker's another figure like that. Anyway, so this is all just preamble to say that I really take seriously the aesthetics and the utility of the average like note-taking program, or average, in the case of Trello, which I keep mentioning, it's like a project management tool. So it uses a Kanban board system, which is very basic, just moving things along like kind of like a visual assembly line. And a lot of this is about the visuals of the websites and how they organize information. So I take these things seriously. I have a lot of experience with them. And now with the dawn of vibe coding, and I have a lot of friends and people around me that are all trying these different things, and I was like, all right, let me see about Claude. So Claude is this one of the AI models that has become kind of emergent as the leader and the most creative and the most powerful system that people are using to make a lot of cool stuff. And truth be told, I have no interest in AI really, and I haven't had any real inkling or desire to go into AI, because I find generative AI art, in the case of like digital art and AI writing, I kind of find it's not even like I really like detest it or hate it, or I'm like, oh, that's really bad. It's just kind of like I have no interest in it, right? Like there's so much art in the world that is done by humans that I haven't reached yet, that I'm an art collector of digital art. That's what I use my social media for. and I have my own Commonplace books of all this art I've collected, which I use to inspire me. I'm a very visual writer in the sense that I can see a painting or a scene depicted in cinema, and that can inspire an entire short story or an entire novel. Like, I take things from art and I create stories out of them. And when I look at AI art, I don't see a lot of stories. I see a derivative of existing stories, but I don't want to go on off a tangent, but just saying that my background with AI, I haven't really explored it. I haven't done a lot with it. So, and I also have like my own moral and ethical issues with how the AI models have been developed, et cetera, et cetera. Again, not going to lecture, but also as a writer and as a working writer and someone who's trying to sell my books to people online and is trying to find my way online and even like gather an audience and like, really have more of a following to really like launch my books into a more read space, if you will. Well, I need to be careful about what I advocate for, what I admit to I'm using, whatever. I know there's a lot of writers out there that have used AI art on their covers. I know there's AI writers that are people that are like, hey, I use it to outline. I use it a lot. I use it not at all. There's all sorts of things going on with the writing community, and I try to stay up to date with it. But yeah, so I've been writing novels, and then I'm gonna try this out. I just finished my sci-fi novel, which is about AI and about these AI beings that start. There's like an AI online digital war and like a Dark Souls game and stuff. It's called Cyber Serial Postmodern Prometheus. You can watch my other video on that, or my other videos kind of introducing all my books, my author diaries. This is going to be the MythoSuite diary, developer diary. I'm going to walk through the different programs I've created at the end of this long introduction. But anyways, I just finished my third novel, Cyber Serial, science fiction, and I was taking a break. I have some more stuff I'm writing. I was in the middle of revising a short story collection called Anthology, which is my latest author diary. You can see right there. And so I'm working on that, but I'm not working on writing something new right now. So I'm gonna start thinking about what could I create. And the first idea I came up with, which this was the prototype to see if I started to do research online, looking up these different websites that make this type of program, but a mind map program. So I'll just go into introducing the MythoSuite here and kind of show you the beginning of this. MythoMap was the first, which is a mind mapping software. MythoQuest is the second, is a D&D DM view and player view digital manager of customizable like kind of dashboards on all the things you can do in those tabletop role-playing games. MythoCards, which is a relatively simple digital tarot reader. And then MythoNote, which is the latest one that I finished and has kind of completed the final cornerstone of this quattro, and is the keystone and the flagship, if you will, of the MythoSuite. So you can go to Thresholds of Transformation or my Substack and see this post introducing the MythoSuite, which kind of walks through in words what I'm about to walk through audio-visually. So you can go through and like read all this, and I go down and explain all the features kind of in detail. I have a bunch of screenshots that you can look at. So that's something you can look at. But for now, I am going to start walking through the different sites. So the first is MythoMap. So this one was fun because I had some experience using mind maps while I was in the corporate world and while I was in college as well, to kind of organize plans, come up with ideas for how to, complete a project, whatever it was. And mind maps are just like a way to visually see kind of a process as it plays out, or like how things connect. I mean, it's kind of intuitive how you would use it, but I had the idea of I wanted to make one that was more in depth and allowed more customization to the actual cards themselves. So for example, the ability to write pretty long, like, any length description, to be able to add images, to be able to like kind of highlight it. And then there's tags where you can organize, and you can add comments, and you can add any number of comments. So this was essentially me combining the mind map idea with Trello, basically. And yeah, it was like it's kind of relatively simple idea, but then as I was making it, I was like, it needs to be like really smooth and slick. So yeah, so I used the Claude Opus model to start like kind of building out the program and like, okay, this is what I want, building it from the infrastructure, I started to do a bunch of reading on actual coding and infrastructure and how to process the like actual foundation to end state of building a program. It's like, what do you need to start with? What are the things you need to define at the beginning? And then how do you add on to that? It's almost like, it's like bones and flesh analogy where it's like, okay, you need a spine first. Okay, what is the spine in coding and programming language? Well, the spine is the different major definitions for the categories of the information. So in my case, like a mind map, it would be nodes. We call these nodes, which is just the object that's on the mind map that we're interconnecting. So it's nodes, and then it was interconnectors or arrows. And then the kind of rich information inside, which is like, this is all the metadata on each node. And then we had to develop the program of, okay, well, how do you connect elements? And we came up with, okay, well, you can drag from the corner here, but that's kind of, it can be fidgety. It's not even like perfect right now. It's like, I could tinker with this further and make it a little bit more user-friendly. But there's also this tap a node to connect. So that one you just hit, and then you're like, okay, I want to connect 1 to 4 down here. And then you can customize the arrow and all that. So it's basically like, I just created like kind of every quality of life maneuver here on a very basic program. And then down here, it's just, you hit these different arrows and you get new chapter, new character, new location, new note. It's kind of a miscellaneous note. And then plot threads, which are kind of related to chapters or could be parallel with them. And then there's custom ones, which the custom, it could change the shape to whatever you want: octagon, diamond, wide, rectangle. I mean, obviously some shapes are better suited for information than others. So you can kind of decide what to do. And yeah, you can like make these thick, you can do this and that. And it's like, basically it had every little like easy customization thing as far as colors, coordination, different shapes, and the ways you can interconnect things. And then it was about, okay, well, the reason I'm making this is also like I'm building something that I want to use immediately. I was outlining and starting to write my next novel, and it's a pretty complex story. So I needed something that I knew was going to be like, I needed like a big like tack board, in like movies or shows where they have the crazy guy in the basement that's connecting all the dots and he has the red string between the tack board. It's almost like I knew I was going to need an interface like that to outline this next novel. And then, voila, look at the screen here. This is the dream I had as far as like, could I build something that could visually but coherently convey a chaotic interface of information, such as a pretty long, crazy, religious horror novel concept that I'm writing about, the kind of the beginning of Armageddon, from my perspective. I knew I was going to need a mind map. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a mind map. And then me and Claude kind of forearm clasped like Arnold and Carl Weathers in Predator. And yeah, we just started building, and this was the result. So this isn't even the fun part yet. I have here this is like the actual tutorial. So you can like actually read all these nodes and gain information about the hotkeys, about the auto wiki interface, which I haven't talked about yet. Connect everything, build your world, place your world, connect, export and share, export views. I mean, this is all like kind of basic save, load. But then there's this thing called outline, which creates an outline of all the information you have. And that's basically connected to the auto wiki, which is over here. All the information you have gets built automatically organized into a wiki. So this was an idea because, again, I'm building it I'm going to outline a novel in here. It's going to be a bunch of information about story, chapters, characters, events, timelines, kind of lore, notes. I needed different things all to be in one place. How do you organize that best to just read it if you just wanted to switch to that? And it's like, okay, a wiki. And the wiki has the functionality of, it just presents all this, but it shows what it's connected to here that you can connect to, and then you can actually edit the description here. You can edit this at your will and leisure. And then that hits the other place back, right? So you go to Canvas again, and that will be, I forget which one I wrote it on. Export and share. Export and share. Yeah, edit at your leisure. So that wasn't there before. So you can edit both places. And yeah, so to jump into an example, I've started to outline, this is the prequel to the new novel I'm about to write, which I've written the draft one of, but it's kind of in a rough shape. I needed to edit it a lot, but this is the first 5 chapters, and kind of the more important part that I built is all the character arrays and the relationships between them, right? So yeah, the title is Bondi Moss. I had like a mood board here, and there's the lore. It's about magicians, magi in the modern world, and they kind of duel for control of the world. And the novel is about a trial called Bondi Moss that is the trial between the top 7 magi in the world, kind of the student magi, young magi, to go into this labyrinth, and you perform this mysterious trial that the people that come out of that trial become magisters, which are like the Senate or the major leadership of the magi world, and basically rule the world, because the magi are somewhat secretive, somewhat out in the open. Everybody kind of fears them. And, you know, the people that are in the know they rule the world because they have magic and they're powerful. So this is about the trial to get into that world, and it's a prequel to the novel that I'm like now outlining. Anyway, so this is the kind of character array and the different elements of the story. These are like kind of notes. Okay, location, labyrinthus, that's the labyrinth. And then there's this fairy character that's kind of floating outside the story. And then there's our main 7 characters. And I won't go into all this because I don't really want to spoil things, but these are characters that that form the main cast, and the whole story is made up of their relationship and their journey and all within the labyrinth. And it's 20 chapters in all. So this is only the first 5. So that's how I've started to like use this in my creative practice. And then I have the other killer app of this is I have templates. So here's a screenplay, and this is like, I use this for some screenshots I was making for this program. I used Hunter x Hunter as an example. It's like, okay, if your protagonist, scene 1 is a sequence 1 setup, sequence 2 new situation, sequence 3 the first obstacle. And this is for like a movie or, you know, animated series, what have you. Midpoint is just a good sequence to understand how story beats should kind of work, and then you remix it and kind of improvise and do whatever you want, obviously, but it's a good starting point. It's a good template. Here's another one, series Bible. So it's like book 1, book 2, book 3, what happens in each of these books, protagonist, antagonist, central world that's connecting them, and then the series arc, what's happening over the course of the story. And then here's all the different, so these are only a few examples. These are all the different templates we have. So we have Hero's Journey. It's a really popular one. Start in the ordinary world, Call to Adventure, Refusal, The Mentor, Threshold, Innermost Cave, go all the way around, Road Back, Resurrection, Turn with the Elixir. And it's like this central theme. What is the story? Really just a good way to visually start to get a feel for the story and get to your main beats in a way that looks satisfying. And obviously, you know, you can jump in here, you can add pictures, you can add focus. If you're like writing it as you go, it could be like, okay, which chapter am I on? What do I need to be thinking about? And if you write comments here, so say like, all right, comment, look at me, and I save that, so that will now appear on the wiki over here for this one, comment, look at me. But if you don't want that to be the case, you can hit hide comments, and all comments will disappear. And then here's the controls. There's like the basic hotkeys. Again, you can put the outline, you can export, and then you can like filter. Very basic functionality, but it's kind of all you need, right? It's just a way to easily kind of categorize and get your mind mapped down in words. I'll show you a few more of the templates. Character web is a pretty fun one. Yeah, it creates this amazing like spider web effect with all these different, you can use different colors, and you can add, importantly, you can add text to the labels of a connection. So you can say like what it means. Again, just very, this is a way for me to, while I was building this kind of step-by-step and getting an understanding of everything needed to be there, it's a really fun way when you're building a program like this to have your mind inhabit a space where you're like, what are all the little like gripes and little things that programs like this or programs I've used in the past, like they don't think about. And it's like, I call them the quality of life changes, which is like a video game term usually, where how certain systems work. Like, you know, when you walk into town, you automatically heal or something, or like, you know, just little things that make things more efficient, where you don't have to go and hit too many buttons. It just kind of works. that's what, you know, all this design and aesthetic kind of building is about for me. Is like, these were fun to build just for the aesthetic challenge of building something that like it looks smooth and it works and it's fun to like interact with, you know. And that's kind of been my whole MO with all this. So world builder, pretty fun. Yeah, what's the central hub city, sacred place, magic technology, government. It's just, it's also a way to like inspire ideas where it's like, now I'll go look at this when I'm coming up with a new story to be like, have I checked all the boxes on what I need to be thinking about with the world build? It's like, oh, history and legends, like all the underworld. Yeah, I need to flesh that out, or I need to have an explanation for that. You know, whatever type of story you're telling. Save the Cat, it's like a beat structure, it's like a book. And like, yeah, this like zooms all the way out and you see the mini map over here. The mini map you can help control with that. But if you're like, oh, I don't even remember where my thing was, if you hit this box button, it recenters it on your whole setup. So this is like, Save the Cat's like a book. I think it's like, I don't know how many this is, like 22 or 15 or something. And it's just like another plot beat check, B story, you got things going on. Romance one's kind of pretty basic. It's just kind of like, who are your two leads, and then they meet, and then they're moving together, and then there's the obstacle, and that's the big thing. But you got to end with happily ever after. Everybody knows that. You could duplicate things. So one thing I think people could say is like, this kind of limiting. It's like, okay, you have it called chapters automatically. It's like, okay, but you can make your own customs. And then once you make your own custom and you label whatever you want and all that, you can just duplicate it, and then you can make as many as you need on your map or whatever, right? So like the functionality is pretty much there to do whatever you want. I'm just coming at it from the standpoint of being a writer, so I used terminology that I understand. Screenplay, D&D Campaign is pretty fun. It's like from the DM perspective. It's like, okay, what's the main quest? What's your Act 1, Act 2, Act 3? Who's the big bad guy? Who's the key NPC? Faction, starting town, final battleground, enemies, loot, and rewards. Very basic, but just a way to get started on like, okay, what's the overarching like 10,000-foot view of the campaign that you want to do? Game design documents, pretty fun. This is like pretty detailed because I actually did research into like, okay, what is game design? What does it need to include? And I had this idea of, where is it? Combat system, mid-boss, kinetics. The idea of, yeah, so these four, kinetics, iteration, arcana, zones. So I studied game design in college. I studied it out of college. I took some online classes, and it's all about like iteration and like prototyping, and I learned all these different things. It wasn't just video game design, but board game design. So I've kind of understood it, and I've played a lot of TCGs and board games in my life. So like, it's an interesting topic to me, and I've always kind of wanted to be a game designer. I've like written a bunch of game design documents and concepts just to like satisfy my own like kind of aesthetic desire to be like, I wish this thing existed. I'm going to write out the detailed plan to like, this is what it would look like if it did exist. But then obviously video games and like funding and trying to like make a video game is very difficult. Of course, flip side of that, it's like, it's an indie game revolution, and tons of people that are, you know, indie game developers are making games and all that, but I've not been an opportunity I've been close to. So I have a lot of ideas for games, but while I was writing Cyber Serial, I did more game design research, and I kind of came up with my own acronym and idea for like the 4 horses of good game design. It's called ZAKI, was the acronym, ZAKI. It stands for zones, arcana, kinetics, iteration. And zones is like the spatial architecture of the game, the locations, the maps. Arcana is the narrative and the lore, the story and the cutscenes. Kinetics is the gameplay loop, the core action, the core thing that you're doing in the game. And then iteration is the gameplay loop, like the thing that you come back for, whether it's an RPG and its progression, whether it's an action and it's like, you know, the story, or the next fight, you know, whatever it is. The iteration part is almost like that's the secret sauce, where it's like, okay, what is the thing that's going to keep people coming back for more iterations, right? Anyway, so I kind of incorporated that along with some general ideas about game design into like this massive game design document. This is like a way where you could like, you know, if you mapped this out and then shared it with your game development team, everybody could kind of get a visual understanding of what we're looking at. And it's like, okay, green team, yellow team, blue team. It's like everybody divides the work and you divide and conquer. Really cool idea, and just visually looks cool. And then yeah, business model, series Bible, podcast, Tree of Life. Tree of Life is yeah, it's the secret symbol of the Kabbalah of the different ways that energy manifests in the world and whatnot, but it's also an interconnecting way to look at the 22 major arcana of the tarot, which this is going to be relevant later because another digital tool I made is related to this. Anyway, so this is the overview of MythoMap. And MythoMap was the first one where I decided on that mytho prefix, which has now become the whole brand of the MythoSuite. So mytho meaning mythos, mythology, mythopoetics. You know, as a fantasy writer, it's something that my first novel idea I ever came up with is called Mythos. It's still on the back burner in the notes of my long Evernote long ago, but it's something I want to return to in the future. But Mythos is this idea that I've always returned to. So Mythos seemed like the right call for these programs. So now we're going to move on to the next one, which is MythoQuest. So MythoQuest is a fun one. This is a D&D 5th edition digital manager, and it has both DM view and player hot sheet. As you can see, the DM view has a little bit different interface with the buttons up here, and then the player hot sheet has all the buttons and stuff down here. So we'll start with the DM view. So I play a lot of background on me in D&D. I play a lot of D&D. I've been playing since 2010. Played 3rd edition, like 3.5 edition. I played Pathfinder. I played 4th edition. I actually like 4th edition. I thought it was fun, but I didn't have the long connection and attachment to the 3rd edition and all that. But 3rd edition's great. Like 3rd edition is definitely better than 4th edition. And then the most I played is 5th edition. It's like where I started DMing the most, and that's when the rules came out when I was kind of playing and getting some friends into it in college. Originally got into it because my brother, who's also a longtime DM, also a longtime player, and we're currently playing a campaign together long term for the last few years. That it's a ton of fun. So I've been playing a lot of D&D the last few years. So this was a tool where I was like, ooh, I could definitely make like a D&D Beyond type manager, but from my perspective and what I want to see, and obviously not having the same paywall subscription, type thing. I'm going to make MythoQuest free. This is a free program. This is one of the tools that I'm not charging for, but it's pay what you will, or give me a tip if you want, if you appreciate it. But I'm not charging for this because I put the entire monster manual in here through 5e tools, which if you know what 5e tools is, it's a dubiously legal, but ultimately legal, full compendium of all the D&D stuff for 5th edition, but I believe other stuff too. I think they have other variations of the website and whatnot. But anyways, I used all of this information to build MythoQuest. So I was like, it's just gonna be free. This is open source. 5th edition's been around out for over 10 years. It was 2014 when it first came out. So it's on its way out. They're coming out with a new thing anyways, and it's the basic rules and stuff. The more the merrier. But this is the most important part to me of this app, is this initiative and encounter tracker. So I'll kind of go through this first. So the initiative tracker is, okay, you have, let's say Bob is player 1. He's got an AC of 15 and he's got, 65 health. His initiative, I'll do auto. He is a player, add. All right, then we have Joe. He's got 10 AC, but he's got 100 health. And he's also a player. And then we got Cecil. I don't know where I'm getting these names. 19. He's got 48 health. He's in here too. So this is your party, right? I'm going to save him the party. Joe saved a party. Cecil saved a party. Now you get your party down here. And the party is going to save even when you clear the initiative. So that's the main feature there. So you have your party, and then you're like, okay, you're going along, and you encounter some monsters. So you're like, okay, this is the entire monster manual. Wow, Dylan, you went crazy. It's like, yeah, it's got all the dragons. You got the Tarrasque down here. The Tarrasque is here, right? 30 strength, 676 health. So you got the full monster manual. You can also make your own monsters, and then you can add them to the encounter. So let's say, yeah, they're fighting a Tarrasque. They're in trouble. But then you also have generate random encounter. Boom, right there. But the Tarrasque too. I think it eliminated the Tarrasque. If you hit the now the Tarrasque is back. Send to initiative. So now we've got our initiative order because everybody rolled initiative. Everybody's getting filtered for the order. Cecil's going last, but Bob and Joe get to go first. Got an Iron Golem, a Dryad, a Priest, a Tarrasque, an Honest Hog, and unfortunately they don't have any attacks. I'll add an attack for them. We'll do punch. It's a 5, and it's a 1d6. I'll give him a +2, sure. 5-foot range. Boom. Punch. So, naturally Bob's going to punch. That's pretty good. He's going to punch the Iron Golem for 3 damage. The Iron Golem, 1, 2, 3. Then we got Joe. Joe's got an attack. He actually has a gun. It's ranged. What's the attack? Yeah. So you can switch it to spell, ability, reaction. The gun's pretty good. It's +15. The damage is pretty good. It's 1d20 +10. It's a freaking gun. You can shoot someone from I don't know, accurately, 80 feet. I don't know, actually. So Joe is going to shoot. He's going to shoot the priest. Yeah, he doesn't like priests for whatever reason. That's a good hit. 17 damage to the priest. So he looks weak. That's there you go. Just took half his health. Go down the line. Now it's the Golem's turn. The Golem, this dude looks scary. He makes 2 melee attacks. He's gonna slam one of these guys. I don't know which one, but they're getting the hammer. Yep. He's gonna slam for 3d8 +7. Okay, Bob takes that. There's one more actually. Iron Golem, he's gonna sword attack someone else. That's gonna hit. 3d10 +7. 20 damage to Joe. Boom, 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 boom. They're getting hit. They're in trouble. And then you go down the line. And you get to the Tarrasque, and let's see what the Tarrasque does. Tarrasque, Frightful Presence. Everybody's got to be rolling saves, actually. Like the priest, he's scared, right? Wisdom save. Yeah, he's running. The priest, let's say the priest is out of the fight. He just got basically defeated because he got scared away by the Tarrasque. Now the Tarrasque is going to attack. He's going to bite. He's going to bite Cecil. I'm sorry. 4d12 +10. I don't know if Cecil's still alive, guys. No, he's still alive. That was 39. So boom, 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 boom. But then +1 more. So Cecil doesn't look good. Cecil's going to get the claw. Yeah, that's going to hit, unfortunately. And then Cecil gets the damage. And that's the end of Cecil. Cecil is now dead. He's been defeated. He is not in the fight anymore. He stays there because maybe he gets revived. So that's actually good quality of life. So you go through the fight. You can do all that right here, which I really like. You actually have to code in all this. But if you're the DM, you'll have all your players' information here in front of you as well, which makes it really satisfying. You can just keep adding abilities, right? So I can basically cover everything to at least give you the information, if not make the roll for you. And obviously all these are here. Yeah, so you have encounters. You can do random encounters, which is always really useful. You can change up all the information here. Urban, you're going to fight different things. Wilderness, Minotaur, Dragon, Deer, Tree. Yeah. So yeah, really, really useful. This is like the ultimate way of like just being able to see everything, and also it's just like search monsters, right? Dragon, young black dragon. All the information's here. Adult red dragon, the goat. And I think most of these work. Sometimes the link just comes here and goes to the default page, and it's like it's not linked directly to the monster you clicked on. So that's something that was like I had to work out the kinks on, and I definitely haven't finished doing the bugs on that. There's some of these monsters are like in the super expansions that are like, you know, more difficult to link to, if you will. But you got the baboon there starting off to fight 3 health. Have advantage on attack rolls if you know, they have pack tactics. You don't want to get surrounded by baboons. 1 baboon you can handle, 2 to 3, you're in trouble. Dungeon generator. So this one is based on a very basic just design of kind of donjon, which I have the donjon generators down here. Donjon is this 5th edition online site you can go to generate dungeons, also loot, encounters, some of the things that I'm working with here and inspired directly by that site, which I used for a long time as DM. So you can also just click on it here and go to that if you want, but I basically used this information and this like idea to code in my own creation of like a dungeon generator, which it gives you a basic layout and just kind of like what is the theme or possible thing that could be in that room to make it more varied. And it always ends with a boss, right? And you can change the number of rooms, you can have more complicated dungeons with more rooms, or you can like, you know, the best way to think about it is like a 5-room dungeon. It's like a good like baby's first D&D dungeon if you're just starting out, where you have, you know, different things going on in here. Explore, combat, treasure, explore, lore, right? It's one example. And I think the boss only starts at like, yeah, the boss may start at 10. 10 always has a boss if it's over 10. But if it's under 10, then it's like it could be a small dungeon. It doesn't have that. But trap, ambush, you can see some of the things. And then you have, we'll go to like a 22-room dungeon for lore reasons. These look a little bit more interesting, right? More stuff going on. But then these always end with a boss, right? 22. It's like in the middle of everything. And then the green arrow is where you start. So this isn't meant to be like a really super detailed, like, hey, track the squares and do all this. It's just a way to like outline a potential dungeon in your mind and you take it from there. But you can save it down. So you can save it. And it kind of gives you an allowance and you can load it in. So that's saved there now. So we can generate something new, that crazy creative dungeon, which is like a little bit more varied type of things like anti-gravity, summoning circle, mimic room, corruption, some crazier types of archetypes on rooms. You have these different ones, summoning circle, eldritch. But then you're like, okay, but I want to go back to that one I made. You just hit load and it reloads exactly what was there. You can save as many dungeons if you want. And yeah, but this is basically just like a way to create dungeons. And then you have generate lore. And this is where you can get the detail on the different ideas of the potential. Obviously, you want to improvise on all this and kind of do your own thing. But okay, the boss is the architect, the Tao genie who designed this dungeon as an elaborate trap. Okay, that's interesting. The walls are carved with faces, anguish pressed from the stone within, warg-mounted hobgoblin devastators, combining lance charges with fireball volleys. So you have like warg-mounted hobgoblins roaming through these halls, which is some pretty open. So you can start to imagine the stories and stuff. There's a mirror that shows the viewer. Former Thieves Guild headquarters been abandoned. Headband of Intellect is a piece of treasure in there. Magical darkness seeps through the walls. A cartographer was hired by a map to map this. She returned with empty parchment, no memory of the past week. So there's something that could like wipe your memory and like set you free or whatever. So it's just like a, and then on the crazy dungeons, the boss can be on any place. They're not just last. So see, these are some of the basic rules I designed with the dungeons and whatnot. It's like you can keep generating lore. And then if you save a dungeon, it keeps the lore as well. So I'm pretty sure we didn't have lore yet on this one. So there's no lore. So you can do that and then save it down. Umbral Maze. Vashti the Tide Turner. A Kraken Beast who floods rooms to gain advantage. Interesting. All right, so moving on. We've got the loot generator. So this is like all the magic items in like 5e. Or like a lot of them. 152 all, and then 5e is 142. But yeah, so you roll a treasure hoard, robe of eyes, decanter. Okay, roll another one, staff of frost. Let's go. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay, what does the staff of frost do? Staff of fire. 10 charges, expend to do burning hands, fireball, wall of fire. And you have resistance to fire damage. Yeah, that's everything. So kind of just like a basic magic item. And then you have this same treasure generator, treasure hoard, another dungeon simulator that you can kind of like do the same stuff on if you want to use that interface. Just pure quality of life and like easy way to search stuff. Potion of greater healing. Everything's kind of shorthand too. It's not the full text. Okay, so then it's all the important text. NPC gen. This is my own. This has lore behind it. This is my own NPC generator I created back in like 2017 when I was just starting to like plan out a DM plan for a campaign and like kind of plan online on Roll20 with some friends that live different places. I was like, oh, I need like an NPC generator, and I started working this at work using like the complex like Excel software we had and stuff. I was like creating this like in another tab, which involves a bunch of VLOOKUPs looking up the pools of information. So, you know, starting with like every one of these categories is randomly generated each time, right? So it's male, tiefling, it's all the different races, and then all the different classes are here. So male tiefling fighter, chaotic neutral, anthropologist is the background, relationship and a domestic partnership, profession accountant, deity is Zuth, posture is one of these. I guess it could just land on posture. That might be an error, but that's kind of funny as well. Personality trait, ideal bond. These are all like coming from a pool, right? I'm trying to pay off an old debt. I could find a common ground. I faced a monstrous enemy. I'm afraid of it. And then these are kind of like more random things, details and quirks, defining event, life motive, secret, fear, quirk 1, quirk 2, physical trait, belches often, trinket, stuffed Terrastal, how quaint, how cute. Favorite guild, fellowship, and they're from Stoneholm. And then you have adventure hooks, which is like, this is an adventure they took part in. They gave the lower planes, threatens to bring more demons into the world. They helped close it or something. And then adventure hook, this is like looking forward. This is what they could introduce the party to be like, I can help you get to this quest. Thieves steal great treasure and flee into Mordecai's magnificent mansion. It's like, that's a really fun adventure hook. And then down here, it kind of gets crazy where it's like MBTI. These are like modern psychological archetypes. And then favorite Bowie album, which is like, this is all like 21 Bowie albums. Hunky dory. It's a great choice. Role in the social change ecosystem, experimental, visionary, type AB, phlegmatic. So it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. It's so much stuff. You can save the roster. So now you have that guy. You have all the information. And then it's like, okay, generate a new one. It's like exotic. That one lands on. You can pick whatever you want. But I created all these pools just to be like, I want to create an NPC generator that's like overly informational. So it's like you look at it, you scan across it, and you like pick a few things and you just run with that character. And it can be really fun when some of these things are really detailed and weird. Or it's just like, it can give you something to role play as well. Sharpens knife incessantly. It's something you just say at the start of the role play where you're like, they're looking at you and they're sharpening their knife as they talk. And they don't look so nice, but they're speaking real clear. And this is what they say, etc. So it's just a way to get into character and understand NPCs in a more like profound way without having to use all the information. But this is a really cool bit of being able to incorporate this in the middle of this program with all this other stuff. When I just had this as an Excel sheet that when you refreshed it, and you hit any cell, it would refresh the screen and just, regenerate them. Whereas now it's like a button on this website, right? And it also produces their name, right? Maturik, Detarak, these like kind of weird names. That's from the D&D Player's Handbook or the DM Guide. A lot of these actually, the pools I added to, but the original bases were from the Player's Handbook and from the DM Guide, where they make pools on the different traits and bonds and personality attributes. And then they also have a different syllable connector to make names like this. So these are all kind of weird names. It's because they created this language to be like, this is a good D&D name generator in the book that I borrowed. Raphael, it's like different ways of saying names, but they all kind of work as names, which is important. So then you have notes. This is where you can see the party as well. Although one of these guys isn't looking so good. Yeah, session 1, you know. Session 1, intro, met at tavern. You know, the shortest possible note there, but session 2, this is combat. You got ambush. So you can just write out the notes, kind of see it there, going backwards, and scroll down to session 1. And then you can export all the notes. Export log is right here. And you can always save the session down or load it, but it's always going to save on your browser. So as long as you don't refresh your browser's like information, all this will be saved even if you X out and come back to it, as long as you're in the same browser. And then if you have to, refresh your browser and you want to save your data, you just hit save session. And it saves a JSON, which a JSON is like a custom file that's like fitted to whatever your site looks like. So it just takes a copy of the site and then you can save it anywhere. It's really small. So it's notes, it's just a good way as the DM to keep track of things. And then timeline. This is a timeline of like your campaign. So this is a little bit different than notes. It's more so like the lore you can keep of everything. And then you have reference. This is important to explain rules to players. You can be like, okay, what does the strength check do? It's also just a reminder as the DM. Okay, what is alignment? This is really fun. Be like, you can tell players like, okay, Batman's chaotic good, Spider-Man's neutral good, Superman's lawful good. But you can definitely say in those comics, these 3 characters definitely cover all 3 of these. That's the nature they move in. It's like moving between, do they work with the law or do they go on their own? They're always doing all 3 kind of. And then, yeah, the different ones: neutral, Treebeard, Jack Sparrow is the ultimate chaotic neutral. I'm gonna do what I want. I'm on the open seas. It's all me. Lawful neutral, Judge Dredd. He's willing to do like horrific things, but he has a code. Lawful evil, it's like evil with a code, like Vader. Neutral evil, I'll do anything. I'll backstab anyone to get what I need. And then chaotic evil, the Joker, demons, kind of. Got these descriptions from this website, which is really good explanation for how alignment works. And this is just something that's like a shorthand you can tell players to like guide them along and like whatever they're playing, or like explaining, well, you just did something that was very chaotic neutral. Are you aware of that? That goes against your alignment in this way. And it's just like, it's a fun way to like check people, but also explain people. It's like, if that's your character, then good. But I'm telling you, this is how the alignment's going to shift because of it. And that's part of the game. And then you have combat rules, very basic stuff, all this stuff you can need to know. Terrain, spellcasting, short rests, conditions, frightened, invisible, poisoned, unconscious. The classes, and then it has the links to the 5e SRD, which has the basic rules for how classes level up. It's a way you can just show the players, like, hey, this is what's coming next with your class. This is what you have to look forward to. Weapons and armor. The weapons, their prices, AC. This is all like basic information that just be useful to see. DC tables, how to judge, how to manage rolls for difficulties. And then this is every spell in the game. Very shorthand descriptions, but kind of just like a shorthand reference to be like, okay, you're using that spell? Well, let me look on my end exactly what Wish does. And it's really just to get the click to get here and then read it yourself, because I didn't want to put all the information here. It's a lot of text. But it's a good shorthand to get there and then be able to click this link. And in the future, I could make that more robust and make it a drop down or whatever. But and then we have the feats, which is the features, extra abilities, explaining those to players, helping players understand what they do. Then mass rollers. So this is a fun one. It's like, okay, I have 10 enemies attacking. They all have +3 to attack. I got to roll them all at once. Okay, you got 1 crit, you got 1 critical fail. Do they hit? These are the raw rolls, and then this is with the modifiers. This is what you want to see to be like, this is what you're comparing against their AC or whatever. And yeah, you can just keep doing this. It's just like a fun little mass roller to look at. You can save to history for whatever reason. I mean, it's just useful to see, like, if you're doing damage or whatever, it's like, okay, now the damage is coming in. Same thing, D6, there's 10 of them, the modifier's there. Okay, save to history. Yeah, I did 72 damage to you last turn, remember? Right. So yeah, that's just like a way to showcase that information quickly. And then this is my kind of, I scoured through my old Trello board, which had it's called RPG resources, which is a public board I actually shared with some friends to be like, hey, you can use any of this. It's kind of something I was making as like a commonplace book for all the D&D and RPG lore I'd learned. And it's where I'd take notes when I was like watching Critical Role or listening to it at work. I would take notes in that board to like as further reminders to be like, these are ideas I can introduce as DM or as player to other DMs. So this is a list of 20, you know, naturally it should be 20. It's a D20 based game. You know, let's roll 20 D20s right here and look at that. Hell yeah. That's 2 1s, no crits, that's tough, but you can do the same thing here where it's like I have 20 enemies attacking with a +5, right? That modifier modifies it. So now you look at it, it's okay, that's a 25, right? So that's another way to do mass rolls. Anyway, so yeah, the different 20 nuggets of advice, homebrew ideas, reference materials for running great games, click any card to expand. So it's like a pregame checklist, very basic, like review your information. What do you want to do this time? Combat reminders, communication, focus fire, not using your resources, ignoring the environment. NPC voices, this is for like DMs. It's like, okay, spits often, wizened, salesman, monotone, booming voice. It's like, just come up with different ways of like, this is how I want to define this character when you're talking through them. 8 schools of magic. This is pretty fun. Illusion down to divination, talking about the frog. It's like you turn someone into a frog, you boil the frog as evocation, like blowing them up. Abjuration, you protect the frog with a shield. You revive the dead frog, that's necromancy. You knew this was always a toad and not a frog. Divination, seeing the future, etc. That's a way to explain to the players easily, like, what do the schools of enchantment, transmutation, what do these actually mean as far as like what the magic does. Thieves can't, this is fun. It's like, does anyone know here Joey 12 Fingers? Like, what they're actually saying is, I'm looking for people to run a heist. And then a full conversation at Thieves Can't, where you can have this like secret conversation, and that's how you can really get into character if you're playing a thief or you're doing an NPC that's doing this type of thing. Just kind of get some ideas from that. It's really good. Odyssey versus idiot plot. It's like, this is always the joke of how D&D campaigns devolve into kind of ridiculous Monty Python stuff instead of being like Lord of the Rings or whatever. It's like Odyssey versus idiot plot. It's just a way to think about the dichotomy of what you want your campaign to be and how you can lead it one way or the other. It's like, do you want this to be kind of like a farce or a comedy, or is this serious, epic, you know, your friends are dying, this is serious stuff? How to think about that. Now, how give your DM a tragically exploitable backstory. It's like another just like piece of advice. It's like, give your DM like secrets, or like somebody's chasing you to like stir up story and come up with things. DM translation guide. It's like, yeah, it's if you do that, you'll die. It's like a way to say that without saying that is, are you sure that's what you want to do? Or I need time to think about this. I have to pee. Am I about to commit a TPK? How's everybody doing? The DC is set pretty high for this. I don't want you to succeed. Murder hobos. This is just like a fun joke. Using NPCs to affirm your PC strengths. It's like the NPCs can like kind of tell your players like what the world thinks of them, right? World building checklist, just like a good resource. D100 goal table, good way to just like, okay, what is this character's goal? And then quickly roll something. Okay, it's selflessness. No, it's revenge. Dark inspiration. It's like extra inspiration, but the DM gets to use it too. Just a meme, stealing the things from your favorite stories to put in your campaign. Yep. Hot seat DM, switching DMs every game. It's a fun idea. Dungeon Master archetypes. Which monster are you? NPC talents. This is just another way to build NPCs that I found really useful. Mike Merles, former D&D designer. He has a few tips. Start your campaign by forcing the players to tell you how the characters want to change the world. That's your campaign. It's really good advice. Really simple, really good. Been doing this for 20 years. I have an answer for one skill that's indispensable. Be the person who raises the energy level in the room. If you do that, people will love working with you and your projects will shine. So that's about like him working on the D&D like team as the developer or whatever, but it's also just true of playing D&D or just working on a team at all. And then Dylan Norris's campaign. This is my own kind of, this was my first campaign I ever designed, my first like full homebrew world I built. You know, I made a world map, made a world Bible, and this was the information at the top of the world Bible that I kind of just did a bulleted list of, this is what I'm thinking for how to DM for how to create the world, for how to think about all this. And obviously going back now into Fate, Endless Emprise, those are the first two campaigns with like kind of two friend groups that were crossed over a little bit. Yeah, so this was me creating a world for the first time, and is really the framework and the foundation of me writing my later novels and coming up with how to do world building and how to, I moved from Google Docs to Trello and how to build my worlds, and it became more complex architecture for my mind to work and like create the stories. So this is just like my kind of advice on like my aesthetic way of thinking about campaigns, and it was just this campaign. That's why it's labeled that way. It's obviously every campaign is different, but it's like adventure exists everywhere. I kind of wanted like a huge sandbox where like things are happening, where it's like I wanted the idea of, okay, the players are in the town and they're going out to the tower to investigate this mystery that's in the tower. But on the way to the tower, there's like a brawl taking place in the market square because a bunch of people are trying to steal goods, and there's something going on, and it's like an operation, and it's like the players see that and they can make a choice to go intervene with that or just keep going to the tower. But I was doing roles like in town and in the wilderness all around them to see what threads they wanted to pursue, and also see which threads were interesting, because I was doing random roles. Like I had these tables of like adventure hooks like that. It's like a brawl is taking place in the market, period. It's like, that's an adventure hook. What's going on over there? Or there's a mystery in the tower, right? That's also an adventure hook. And I would take those and improvise them, but just having like a sentence seed to get my brain latched onto something is all I needed, and then I would just take off from there. It'd be really easy. So I was using roles and I was using random encounters to build the story and build the like what's going on in the chaos of the world. And I had all these like the syndicate and these cults kind of battling and these things going on. There's like blood rituals with like demons and vampires, and aboleths were like talking to the players and sending them messages. I had crazy stuff going on. But it was also the stuff of like moral ambiguity. Gods exist, but their influences become limited. There's a secular spirituality. There's a defiance of gods. Magicians and magi are trying to become their own gods. There's people fighting for principles. They're trying to come together and form super organizations to work together, like the League of Nations type stuff. Like they're realizing they need to consolidate to become superpowers in order to fight the battles they need to fight against the other superpowers. So that type of stuff is going on. It's kind of be like modernizing a fantasy world where like kind of like Oblivion, Skyrim, where the orcs are people that are just like going to town and stuff. And then like there's different population centers. Like there's like an elves population center, dwarves, humans, but there's a lot of diversity between all the cities. So it's actually a shadow war going on between the different like companies and stuff. It's not like elves versus dwarves versus humans. It's the Shadow Syndicate versus like the Red Fangs versus the Blue Bloods or whatever, right? And then because I knew we weren't going to be able to play that often. It's like once a month, and it became less and less until the campaign kind of like went away. But we got like, probably like 20 or 30 sessions in, had some good, like the first few arcs we got to play out. But it wasn't like the full campaign that I had in mind, obviously, for Endless Emprise and into Fate. But I knew we weren't going to play that often, so I was like, every campaign session has to be like a 3-act play. Like, I need to make this like work and not just like kind of be like, oh, we left off ambiguously, and then if we're not going to meet up in a month, everybody kind of forgets what was happening anyways, and maybe don't want to play anymore. It's like I wanted it to be satisfying. So from the beginning, I was like, there's going to be things happening. We're going to be moving. We're going to be like, I'm going to be giving you guys stuff to do, like real things to like go and pursue. And then baking in their backstories and stuff. And I got to like do the full arcs of some backstories with the characters, which was fun. So this is kind of like my like poetic literary way of explaining like how I was thinking about that campaign, which is fun and I hope people find useful. And then the ultimate DM tip, this is like pretty early on in the DM guide. It's just like a DM player trust. It's like the DM and the player have to have mutual trust, because the players need to trust that the DM is going to give them an experience that makes sense and is like working within the lore and is consistent and like, challenges them, but it's not too punishing unless that's what the players want. Like, what does the players want? All that stuff. It's like, this is just like a succinct way of explaining how that works. So that's the full DM side of things. It's kind of like you can have the full experience here. And then this is like upload your character. So this is Luster. And Luster is my Warlock Bard, my Bard lock. He's majority Bard. But those 2 Warlock levels will do wonders, I will tell you. So he's a Bard. We're doing a campaign where we are on a jungle continent that is kind of experiencing a colonization blitz from different world powers, and there's this secret prophecy going on. There's dinosaurs, there's pirates, there's dark elves versus dwarves, there's Duergar versus dwarves, there's kind of like hunter association, explorers association, but it's like a mercenary group invading that's going for the natural resources. And then on the continent itself, in the core of the jungle, are the Leonin, which are like lion people, and the Loxodon, which are elephant people. They're the native indigenous people, and they're waging a guerrilla warfare against all the forces who are trying to invade their continent. And our party's in the middle of it, and we've helped fight with the Leonin, we've helped fight with the explorers, but we've also fought against the explorers because we betrayed each other. And then we've just now entered the fray with the dwarves and have teamed up with them to defeat the Duergar. So that's a character that I've been playing recently, and I've uploaded his character sheet into my build here. And as you can see, the main thing you see first is this action hotbar, which is, okay, I'm a bard lock. What am I doing a lot of? And it's Eldritch Blast. And Hex, Healing Word, Counterspell. It's like Counterspell's up there is like a reminder, slow. It's like a big AoE, like I do a lot. Dissonant Whispers, and then Conjure Celestials, like my new summon, which does damage and then also heals your allies. It's like a perfect support spell, which is what I am in this. I'm a Tabaxi bard, chaotic good, far traveler. I come from the wilderness. His backstory is that he was, let's see, cunning. Let's look at my personality traits. I honor my deities through practices that are foreign to this land. Cunning, homeland, have a weakness for the exotic beauty. So yeah, Lester's backstory is he was raised by the Leonin in the jungle. He was basically smuggled over to Plagas from Zonos, which is like in the center of the world. But he was raised in Plagas. He's born in Zonos, but then smuggled to Plagas, and then he's raised in Plagas, basically thrown out into the wilderness, got lost in the shuffle of the smuggle, had to survive on his own, and then got in with the Leonin, who took him in as like a small, weird-looking cub. Tabaxi are not the same thing as Leonin, but they both share the cat-like features, obviously. So I was raised by the Leonin, and then eventually I went off to Lausenburg, which is where the Bard College was, and I started to learn how to create. Somewhere along the way, Lester was contacted by Sire, which Sire is the god of creation, architecture, art, and like generational like movement and like births and like creation, meaning the creation of beings and like organic rebirth and reproduction. And Sire is the god of bards, so to speak, as well, because of those reasons. And contacted, and Lester made a pact with Sire to become a bard for him, but only for 2 levels, and then he became a bard. So the 2 levels of warlock, that's the pact, and then the bard is the rest of the build, and the bard is the focus. I did College of Creation. So anyways, this is the full character sheet, as you can see. And the killer features here is, okay, so you have stat. This is all your basic information of, okay, you have your saving throws, you have your ability scores, you have your health, you have your armor class, speed, initiative, proficiency, temporary HP, hit dice, item resources. So item resources is like, what are you attuned to? I'm attuned to the Ring of Protection, Wand of Web, Tyrannosaurus Tooth, which is like my custom item. And then you have rest, conditions, like, oh, I'm charmed right now, or whatever. And then class resources, Bardic Inspiration. And then, yes, we are homebrew, domain expansion, super ability, Bonkai super ability. Domain comes back every 1d12 days. I have 2 days left on my domain. And then Bonkai's ready, returns every 1d8 days. Need to roll. But my Bonkai's back right now. So that's, yeah, so then long rest, short rest, and all that. So that's like the basic information. And then you go to actions. This is where you can create, okay, Eldritch Blast, Thorn Whip. You can like roll these to the to the dice arena. And then you have spells. This is my full spell list. And this one's really fun because, okay, it's a fun way to, okay, you could have the different custom things to change spells. What's the damage? What's the heal? A healing word. I guess it still says damage. You gotta work out the kinks, but you have all these, and you have these little tags on them. So it's like, okay, find familiar. So summon, Bane is a control spell. Hex is Hex is technically like a control. It's a buff on yourself, I guess. Distant Whispers is strike, control, and then like a blast. I don't even think I have any blast spells, but blast is like an AoE, like fireball. Defensive, restore. I need to add these. So Wrath of Nature is an AoE. I'm going to say that's a blast, actually. That's my blast. And then Summon Dragon is a summon, right? So you need to add those. And then Holy Aura. Holy Aura is a buff. And then Wish is utility. Wish is kind of like its own thing. And then I have the Spectral Dragon. You can add your own summons here. So these can also, like, you can do the damage rolls and whatnot up to there. But the fun thing is, and then I also have my dancing item. The fun thing is you can do that since those tags are there. Now you can look at your spell arsenal. It's like, oh, I have a lot of utility, control, strike, right? Those are dominant. And you can look at the data in different ways. It's like, okay, I'm really favoring this side. I don't have a lot of blast. I don't have a lot of heal. And yeah, my role in the party is very utility and control. A lot of movement, a lot of healing, and a lot of like hitting the enemy with like slow. Like slow has been one of my big spells in the campaign. And then as a warlock, I'm doing a lot of Eldritch Blast damage too. That's my main attack. So I don't need to have attack spells. All my spells are like very utility. Healing Word, Dispel, Counterspell, Sending I use a lot. Revivify to heal somebody if I need to. Dimension Door is huge. Actually, I will say one of the greatest maneuvers I've ever pulled off in any campaign I've ever played in as a player is Dimension Dooring into the belly of a dragon as the dragon died and exploded, because it was like basically self-destructing and blowing up because the monk, my comrade, Core, he's vowed to kill dragons. He was fighting the dragon basically 1v1. I mean, he did most of the damage, but we were all there trying to support him. But the dragon also got his and devoured him. And I dove using Dimension Door. Lester did the telemetry. Dove into the belly of the dragon. Grabbed Core and then Dimension Doored out as the dragon exploded and saved his life. And honestly, the more I look back on that, one of the coolest things I've ever like even thought of doing. Oh man, yeah. So anyways, you can look at the you can look at your mosaic, which is like, this is by level kind of what it looks like. So really good for spellcasters to see that information that way. I don't really see that in a lot of digital tools like this. And this is your skills and saves. This is all your saves and skills. Let's see, class features. This is where you have your class resources, domain expansion, Bankai. You can edit it here. And then this is where your feats are. You can add your own custom feats. Very simple quality of life stuff. And like the reason this looks weird, imported features raw, is because we have the feature to load a character. So if you save a PDF of your character sheet off of D&D Beyond and load it into my program, then it's going to spit it out like 80% correct into the right slots and do the spells and whatnot. At least in my tests I've done so far. Like this is just all auto input, except for a few of those tags you saw I had to fill in. So it input everything correctly, but it kind of misses some fields or does some janky stuff. I did do some troubleshooting on the coding. But it spits all this information into here raw. So if you need to take this and kind of like filter it out into the character sheet yourself, you can. It's not perfect. It's really hard to actually get it to where it gets all the information perfect. But it gets the feats now, which is good. I had to work on that for a long time. Then you have your inventory. Okay, what are you attuned to? Active, passive, miscellaneous. You can drag and drop all this. Really, really slick editing here and stuff. And this all gets input from my character sheet on D&D Beyond. That's why it's here. I did not input all this manually. This is spit out from D&D Beyond's PDF. So they actually have a Staff of Fire now. I need to input this in. I'm updating my character sheet in real time. Let's go. Yeah, max. So Staff of Fire, I remember everything. It's resistance against fire damage. It is 10 charges, 1 charge for Burning Hands, 3 charges for Fireball, which is going to be the bread and butter, and 7 charges or 5. It might be 5. 5 charges for Wildfire, I think. I might be wrong on that, actually. It's actually, let's look at it. Staff. Oh, I have to search it down there. It's a track item. Okay, so that's there now. Okay, so then I actually need to add down here into my inventory. So Staff of Fire. So I'm gonna move this into active. And then I'm basically gonna get off the Wand of Web. No more attunement. And the Staff of Fire is taking its chill place. Attunement. I guess it doesn't say the tool charge is there. What is it? One, 3, 4. Okay. That's 1, 3, 4. And this is 4. Dang, so you can do 2 Wall of Fires and 2 Burning Hands. So you can do 3 Fireballs and 1 Burning Hands. Or you can do Wall of Fire, Fireball, and then 3 Burning Hands. Or Fireball, Fireball, Wall of Fire. But you don't want to expend the last unit. So it's really going to be the 3 Fireball meta, probably. But that's fun. So I just got a Staff of Fire actually in the game. So that's why I have that now. And I need to add Wand of Lightning Bolts. I also got one of those. This will be active. 7 charges. Man, like, why does it not say how many are the usage? It's frustrating. Okay, so it's 1 charge per. That's actually good, useful, but you can expend any charges. 1 charge per lightning bolt. And you can do extra. Okay, yeah, I mean, the Wand of Lightning Bolts, I don't know if I'm going to tune to that. I guess, I mean, the Ring of Protection, it's probably worth taking that off and doing the Wand of Lightning Bolts, but I don't know how I decided to do that yet. So I guess that doesn't work. The arrows don't work anymore. Or some of them do. I have to click it a bunch of times. Okay, I still got bugs to work out, you know? Personality traits, backstory. I don't have the backstory pasted in here, but I do have that in the Google Doc. And then quick notes. This is session journal, and then quick notes. This is useful differentiation, where it's like, I don't just want one section for notes, right? You have the notes you need to look at right now and like your hot sheet, and then you have your session journal. Which that would be a quality of life thing I would maybe consider doing, is like, can I click to do quick notes and shove them into my hotbar, right? And then your hotbar shows your main roles you want to be looking at, and also your quick notes. That could be useful. And then back here, you have a level up guide, which is like, this is kind of the most important rule stuff, to be like, okay, what do I do when I level up? It's like, what are the hardest things to learn for a player? Because it's kind of a lot. But this kind of gives you like the shorthand on everything you need to be thinking about, and shows you what you get at every level, right? So at the next level of Bard, which is my next level, I'm planning to take, I get Magical Secrets, so 2 more like huge spells, which is cool. And then you can look at every other class, like Blood Hunter is one of the DLCs. Grim Psychometry sounds really cool. So that's the player side, and you can save load. That's MythoQuest. A lot of fun. I really am happy with the dice arena. Like, I actually couldn't imagine like a better way to look at the 3D dice just like work, you know? It's really satisfying. And I made them have like rainbow color like edges and stuff, except for the D6. The D6 is the one I couldn't get to like land flat, so it always looks wrong. But D8 looks perfect. The D10 is really good, really satisfying, little like crystal thing. The D4 I think lands well too. Nah, the D4 looks weird. So that's fun. That's MythoQuest. That one's free. Let's see, I opened a bunch of stuff up. Got to get to the next one. MythoCards. This is number 3 program. So MythoCards is kind of the simplest one yet of these 3. I've gotten into the tarot, you know, for a few years now, but tarot is just a way for, and like this is like the subheader here, and that's like kind of what I use it for. It's a way for me to understand like the archetypes of how stories work and how stories are structured since, you know, time immemorial and mythologically speaking. You know, what are the journeys that all heroes have to undertake? What are the thresholds? Who are the characters they meet? And the 22 major arcana of the tarot, which conveniently I have down here, aren't just like the characters you meet. There's also like, this is the person you have to become through the stages of life. It's like, these are all the archetypes and roles that you can inhabit, that you will inhabit over the course of your life during different phases and whatnot. So it's meant to be like a way to like gauge what stage you're at in, however you're feeling, whatever card you draw, etc. But it's also just a way to think about, like, if you use the cards in like a storytelling or creative capacity in your creative practice somehow, then this is what they're telling you and this is what they say. So I was like, I want to make one of these to like also solidify my own like understanding of the cards, right? So it's like, okay, what are the cards? And it's like, you have an upright, you have a reversed, you have as story. So it's kind of like, you have the major arcana 0, folly, mania, pure potential. It's like, those are keywords. You could just operate off of that, right? If you see the card, you look at the art, do your interpretation, you could just use these like little keywords. Then you bring in the tree of life, the Kabbalah tree of life, which is like, I'll go into on one of the codex page, but the different the Sephiroth are interconnected by the energy and how it manifests through them. And each of the tarot cards, the 22 major arcana, are the interconnections on the tree of life too. So the tree of life has 10 Sephiroths, but it has 22 interconnections. So this is the Fool, it's like upright. And these are just like literary ways of writing the meanings that are mostly based on some big books that I wrote or read about tarot, such as A.E. Waite's Pictorial Tarot, and then also Hajo Bonsoff's Hero's Journey Tarot. These books kind of got me into the mindset of how to think about the cards and interpretation and what they really mean, because there's the surface level, there's the art level, and then there's like the literary understanding what level. So there's 3 simple ways to understand the cards that I have set up on my site. Obviously there's all these different like tags and stuff up here, but then it's upright, reversed, and as story. Now, upright versus reversed, and like when you're playing with the real cards, it's like however you shuffle the deck, it's like some cards get reversed. It's always like kind of random. It's like however it happens. And then you can obviously shuffle the deck where you reverse all of them, and you're kind of just doing a big pot that you're shuffling, and then a lot of them are going to be reversed. However you shuffle your deck, there could be reverse cards. And when you flip them over, it means the card, but it's changed. It's blocked, it's altered, it's redirected. It's going to be different. Reverse doesn't mean the opposite. It just means the energy is different, but it's the same energy of the card. So that's a way to think about it. And then the third one's as story, and this is where it's like comes into the storytelling. It's like the hero at the start, day 1 of the journey. Every wandering fool who becomes a world must first be willing to fall. It's like he's about to fall off the edge. So this is literary. It's meant to be inspiring. It's not meant to be like law, right? But I have writing for each one of the cards. The first choice the protagonist makes, that could be the magician in a story, right? The chariot, so you got to get moving, the quest fade, the forward thrust, the chase sequence. 2 of wands, ace of wands, the visionary at the edge of their map, the hero surveying unknown territory. So it's just like it's a way to think about all the cards. You can like filter them however you want. Just look at wands, just look at swords. One of my favorite cards is the Knight of Swords. Where is it? Yeah, Knight of Swords. I love this card. The Crusader, the Ideologue, the brilliant hothead who will win 3 fights and lose the 4th. Yeah, in full course, scattering his enemies, skill, bravery, intellect, conflict, truth. I love this card. Anyway, so this is all the different cards. And then you have the vault. So I should go back to the beginning. It's like, okay, 6 of wands is card of the day. It's a laureled horseman bears a staff crowned with laurel. Footmen with staves are at his side. A victor triumphing. Also great news, as if carried in state by the king's courier. Expectation crowned with its own desire. The small win that buys the hero the status. The homecoming parade before the real work resumes. Yeah, this is me parading and showing off my MythoSuite, including this site. So I just wrote that. It has saved. Okay, where does that go? The vault. Card of the day. Open. Boom. Shows you that. Takes you back here. And then you can export as a markdown. So That's that. Choose your spread. Each spread is a scaffold for story. The cards will decorate with image, archetype, and turn. Pick one and let the deck speak. So we have our core story spreads. We have the classics back here. This is the stuff you may expect if you've dealt with tarot readings before, kind of like the basic things. It's like single card, past, present, future, mind, body. Celtic Cross is kind of like the classic big one. 4 seasons, yes, no. You do like a 5-card cross. You say, okay, reveal all. Conscious, the devil. Future, Hanged Man. Reversed, present is these 3 of Cups. Unconscious is reversed 8 of Cups. Past is King of Wands. It's like, okay, what does this mean? It's kind of like present, past, future, conscious, unconscious. And it's kind of explained to you if you make a note here, or if you hit save to vault, then it'll save this to the vault. You can open it at any time. It's like, that was just me playing around. I don't want to save that. All right, I delete it. It's gone. You do past, present, future. Let's look at this. That's the 3 of Cups, reverse judgment, the Empress. Interesting. The Empress. What does the Empress mean? Fruitfulness, initiative, long days, the great mother of the manifest world, abundant nature in full bloom. She bridges wisdom and understanding the unit that bursts all form. Creation is never without labor. Has story, the muse, the fertile ground from which stories grow, the character whose generosity feeds the hero, whose smother threatens to bury him. Yeah, so that's a way to, okay, you say save the vault, and then there it is. And it's like, okay, what's the question also? You can label it that way. So then you have the story spreads. It's like Hero's Journey Classic. It's just an art here. You do reveal all. It's like, okay, Ordinary World, Refusal of the Call, Crossing the Threshold. Some of these cards are locked in as like major arcana, and then other ones are the texture in between. That can be any card, like 7 of Pentacles. Like, okay, what does this mean? The gardening scene, the hero resting. It's like meeting the mentor, right? You start to be able to draw connections and understand, okay, maybe I could use this. And then you can re-roll any of them. It's like Crossing the Threshold. Justice, it doesn't work there. It's too early for Justice. The moon, they have to go at night. They have to cross the threshold to go through something at night and reach to the other side while strange, mysterious things are happening. And then the test of the other side is they meet the King of Wands. They approach the cave, the Emperor's there, and the Emperor is actually of the spirit, the ordeal, the devil. Like, look at this, the reward, Wheel of Fortune. Like, it starts to you start to be able to build out stories just by like looking at these cards in the order and in the structure of, in this way, Hero's Journey. So then it's like, very cool. Okay, that's in the vault now, right? And say I wanted to label it. I guess I gotta go back now and save it from the vault. That is the thing. You gotta be careful. If you click out, it's going to be a new draw, right? Let's say this one you want to use. So this looks crazy. There's reverse stuff. Resurrection, reverse chariot. Whoa. Reward, temperance. I like that. Approach the cave, the magician. Whoa. Crossing the thresholds, judgment day. That's very interesting. So you say, yeah, it's like, this is my story. This is my story. Heck yeah. And then you say save the vault. Go to the vault. Open. And it saves your story, saves your notes, whatever you had there, right? All right, and then you go to like, Hero's Journey, character array 7-fold. It's like, okay, this is like 7, planetary energies, whatever this is. This is just like a image I use, but reveal all. So it's like, this is 7 aspects of the character, for example. Essence, persona, shadow, devil. Wow, that's interesting. Shadow. Gift, wound, desire, destiny, right? So very interesting way of thinking about things. And then you go to 4 elements, 3-act structure. Yeah, Act 1 break, Act 2 reversal, Act 3 finale. 3-act structure. Reveal all. You got the setup, the lovers, interesting. And then strength, first plot point, rising action, midpoint, low point, climax, resolution, denouement. Knight of Pentacles, always an interesting card. The dependable partner, the workhorse ally, the knight who shows up every day and carries the scene. So just like a fun way to think about story and kind of get your mind going, even if it's like you're not going to use these verbatim or whatever. And there's like a free draw, intentional question. It's like, yeah, what is my protagonist fear? What is the fear? Number of cards, we'll say 7. And we'll say, yeah, let's do lesser arcana only. It's interesting. Begin the draw. What is the fear? And then you say, let's see. I guess this is a quality of life change I need to make, is like I need to add editing of what the labels are, but it's just card 1 through 7, and then you can write down what they mean on your own, I guess. And then this is the lesser arcana that show up for this. And it's like, okay, reshuffle, reveal all. Reshuffle, reveal all. Ah, this one works. Look at these reversals. That's wild. Queen of Cups reversed. Untrustworthy reverse. Vice, dishonor. The empath unshielded. Drowning in others' sorrow. So there you go with the different story ones. Build your own spread. This is where you get the position labels, I see. This is just blank canvas, and then this is position labels. So let's see. And then you have this, 78 cards, the vault, and then the codex. So the codex is kind of like just a simple rundown of what they mean, the underlying meaning, kind of the keywords of the major aspects of the tarot, right? So wands, cups, swords, pentacles, they're also the elements. The elements have their own meanings. It's kind of like break that down here. Then you have the different tarot cards for the major arcana, just sitting here. It's like kind of emojis to get you going and kind of understand things, what's going on. Temperate. The Angel of Alchemy. And then here's the Tree of Life. So that's the lightning path. The lightning path shows that's how energy moves through. So it's like starts with Kether, go down, Crown, Chakma, and then in between each one of these, you have the tarot cards. So then you can start thinking about, once you understand what the Sephiroth mean, it's like, okay, this is Crown, which is like supernal, all energy, unity. Chakma's wisdom, Bina's understanding, Chessed's mercy, Geber is severity, Tiferet is beauty, Metzak is victory, Hod is splendor, Yesod is foundation, and then Malkuth is earth and like manifest reality, kingdom. So you go through and like you can read all these. It's very esoteric. I've written in a literary way that I think is the best way I can describe these things that is true to what they are. So if you start to read these and understand them a little bit, then you can understand, okay, well, the tarot connections between them. It's like, okay, the Empress is between Chakma and Bina. What does that mean? And it's like, she is the one that's bridging together wisdom and understanding. And that's the union that births all form. So it's like, how should something be made? And then why is it made that way? And it's like, well, that's the nature of like Gaia, nature, and the Fibonacci sequence. It's just how things come together and work. It's like, that's what the Empress has governance over. You know, lovers connect Bina understanding to beauty. And that's what love is about. When you understand someone else's beauty inside and out, love arises. And then it's like, okay, Chakma, wisdom into beauty. What is that? That's the Emperor. The Emperor is able to understand how to create a stable, powerful civilization. And you look at like Chesed and Gebira, it's like this kind of the core of the tree, and this between them is strength. It's just the quiet ability to move from mercy to severity and back and forth. Anyways, there's a whole like esoteric tradition that's involved with this. So then it's like, okay, well, if the tarot cards map onto it, it's good to know and good to see that, right? And there's some more lore and descriptions here, and you can look at the lightning flash. The sky on the cards, if you notice, the sky on a lot of the cards, there's different colored skies. Gray, that's blue and yellow. That's like red, yellow. Those are all yellow because they're in Kether's like point of view, which is like light and everything. And then start to come out of different colors there. Strength is yellow as 2. Justice, hermit's blue. So you start to see different colors. Those mean different things, right? Mystery, unconscious, conflict, uncertainty. Gold sky is kind of the most fulfilling and like overwhelming. Pale blues, intellect, clarity. And then there's some more codes and keys down here. Major versus lesser. What do they mean? Lessers are about weather. Majors are about fate. So weather just means like something that's more transient, more temporary. Whereas the majors are more like, this is a long-term life thing. Court cards, page, knight, queen, king. What do they mean? The numerology meanings. Fire and water and being next to each other amplifies, contradict, etc. Those are like intuitive if you understand that. And it's like, how do you ask the querent's questions? Upright, reverse. And then the different astrological correspondences, the cards. High Priestess is Mercury. Or the Magician is Mercury, sorry. High Priestess is the moon. The tower's Mars, Aries is the Emperor, etc. So this is a way to just like a reference you can quickly look at to understand a deeper level on the cards, which is really useful for me, and just like because I understand that it's really useful for me, I understand it'd be useful for anybody. So yeah, this is the about. I'll just read this off. It's pretty short. The idea, how to use it, and spread philosophy. MythoCards treats the tarot as a storytelling engine. The 78 card deck is one of the most sophisticated narrative instruments the West has ever produced. An archetypal vocabulary stretching from the Fool's First Step to the World's Closed Circle, threading through 4 suits mapped to the elemental powers of will, feeling, intellect, and matter, which are the 4 suits of the 4 elements, so to speak. Use it to draft characters, use it to scaffold a novel, use it to learn the cards. Each spread here is a mythic shape waiting to be filled, and each card is a compressed world ready to unfold. So how to use it: set an attention or a question, pick a spread, let the cards land, read the position, then the card, then the dialogue between them, reshuffle a single position if something feels off. The oracle is generous with revision. When you find a draw that sings, export it to Markdown and carry it into your draft. Spread philosophy. Certain spreads lock specific slots to the major arcana. The reason is narrative weight. When a position represents a turning point, a call, a death, or a turn, a major arcana card carries archetypal gravity that a minor card cannot. The other slots stay open so the lesser arcana can color in the texture of daily life, the quarrels, the journeys, the small griefs, and small victories that fill the space between revelations. Every spread in MythoCards is an opinion about how story works. Godspeed, fellow traveler, Dylan Oros. That last point is just to be like, hey, don't get mad if like you disagree with some of the choices I made on the site and like how things get organized or whatever, because it's like this is just an opinion about fun ways to get your brainstorming and inspired and whatnot. So that's MythoCards. And there's also a music element. You can add a kind of a drone effect. It's a crystal, kind of like sheen sound, ritual. So that's that. This is MythoCards, very basic, and this is for sale on Gumroad. You can buy the access link to it for $7, and that goes for the same for MythoMap as well. So now we come to flagship program, which is not out yet, but I'm planning release very soon. I'm up to 90 minutes now, so I did 90 minutes in the first 3. Now I need to talk through the big dog. So this is the origination of this is Evernote. So Evernote is one of my favorite apps all time. At the beginning, when it first came out, Evernote kind of got me into journaling, which got me into writing. So I actually owe a lot to Evernote. I was writing on Evernote before I was writing in Google Docs or anything. I was only using Google Docs for like school and stuff. So Evernote was the first app I downloaded that started to get me into like the writing mindset, like back into it. One of the things I liked about Evernote is the fact that you could create books to put different notes in. Very simple, right? But, you know, it was just a way for me to organize, okay, this is where I'm saving story ideas. This is where I'm saving like reminders. This is where I'm saving my dream journal. This is where I'm saving these notes, etc. So different book structure and then having notes within books, just a really satisfying way to organize notes. I used Evernote for a long time. Evernote starts to become really crazy, like restrictive with the storage, with how many notes you can have, with how many books you can have. They start to count the numbers and the data, and they're like, screw the customers. You have to buy the yearly subscription and stuff. So I got out of that, and I got a Trello, and I made Google Docs, and that's how I started like taking notes and keeping track of my writing and stuff. And I've still used Google Docs up to now. But as I was building out these other programs, which, you know, have laid the foundation for kind of coming to this idea, is like, I'm going to make my own like complex note-taking software like Evernote, and starting from that foundation, but then making it better. Like, what is my wish list for all the best quality of life features that I would want on a website for note-taking, for a writing interface potentially? Not just a way to scribble down or jot down notes, but as something that I would use as my workstation as a writer, right? So I started to develop the idea of MythoNote, and MythoNote was pretty early on. I knew the name of it because I already had all these mythos, right? I have MythoMap, first one. We have MythoQuest, the D&D tracker, and then we have MythoCards. So it's MythoNote and not MythoNotes because I wanted to mirror Evernote, just end on the singular and not the plural. So MythoNote, because a note also means, like, when you say a note, it's like a notebook. you're saying a singular thing, and that's what this is. Your library is your note. So MythoNote is a dream come true, and let me walk you through why that is. And I have two examples here. This is the default book that you get whenever you install or open the program or the website for the first time. And then I created, this is on light mode, so prepare your eyes. There's two modes, there's light mode and dark mode. And dark mode looks kind of like, brown leather, strong color, and then light mode is like kind of cream colored and white. They're both satisfying. It's just I recommend using light mode during the day and using dark mode at night. A little yin yang button switches between them. Look how satisfying that looks. That's just the beginning, folks. This note, which I won't go into right now, but you can look at for a second. There's Lester, Bard I've been talking about. There he is. That's his character profile. This is, I took all the information we had acquired as a party on the world build, also from our DM. 90% of this is the DM making his world Bible and giving it to us, which is my older brother, Kevin. And I took all that information and then used a translator that I created with this site called Codex Import Translator, where you can get the information structured in such a way to where you can make it into a JSON that you can upload that will make it automatically connect all your notes into the different categories that you want. So I'm jumping ahead, but basically showing you the capabilities. This is the default note, right? You start with 2 books. The structure here is books, notes, and then this is the interface to start writing something or start editing something, right? So this is the default notes because I have a walkthrough in here. I have the templates, which is very useful to look at to understand some of the functionality. But then I start out in your inbox, which is kind of like your default starting book. And then the templates is something I added that you could just delete. The inbox is harder to delete because it has protection, and then you have to remove that and then delete it. You can delete it, but every time you take certain actions, it gets regenerated, such as starting the daily prompt or regenerating it from the graveyard, etc., etc. But the inbox is kind of like your default book that you're always going to have, and you can jot down notes in, but then everything else is customization and doing whatever you want. So MythoNote here is a note-taking software that takes very seriously how you categorize and organize your notes, and it gives you as much freedom and customization as you want to explore it with, right? Let me just check the music going here. Oh yeah, on number 69. Let's go. Got some music going in the background if you can hear that. So we got idea, action, mission accomplished. Dylan's MythoNote. This is my personal note, kind of explaining, which I can read here. And then welcome to MythoNote. So welcome to MythoNote is a full rundown of all the different elements and major information about how this site works. And this is like top to bottom, everything, every functionality, right? And then you have hotkeys right here, which explains more information about the site if you just want to start reading about what the site does. But if you just want to start exploring it, then you can start here and look at idea. And it's like, okay, what is idea? It's in category ideas and it's in status planning. What does that mean? Well, category, if you type category with the colon and then type in whatever the name is, that automatically tags it somewhere. Same thing with status. Where? The wiki is assigned a category. So ideas is in category ideas, and that's what this is, right? So, and then Kanban is where category or status planning is. And then we have mind map. So basically every note is coded into 3 other views that connect it informationally and logistically in different ways. So if you just want to look at the note and you don't care about those views, then you can basically just say, full screen, you have your outline here, and you could just write in the note and do whatever. But if you're like creating something like a wiki, for example, where you need the different elements to be having names, it's like these are all the different characters. This is our active party right now: Luster, Arc, Core, and Row. And then we have a past campaign we played with different characters. That's my old character, Shreya the Liquid Swordsman. It's like, okay, Eternum Legacy, so that's different categories. And then the Kanban shows, okay, who are the active characters? It's the 4 that we're currently playing right now. Who's the background characters that are still alive, that are doing things out there? And it's like, Show's still out there, Oda's out there, Keel's out there, Dimian's out there, Arc of Dawnbringer's out there. And then the Resolved is characters who have passed on or dead, right? Gene Cabana, Ulrich Blaze, Sheen, Zadshin, Dragonspear. So So it's like you get to understand how you can organizing these things different ways is actually very useful. And then the mind map, you can kind of do whatever you want. It's like Oda and show are very good friends. You could add this and say friends, and they're still working together, right? I guess to not save. There we go. You have to hit enter. So, and then you have the mini map down here. So you have the note, you have the way to outline it, and you can have, so we can get into the notes and stuff, but this is the organization that I'm after, right? And the Kanban tells you, okay, planning, doing, done. So if you're creating like a book, for example, you have the notes in order, chapters 1 through 10, but then you need to have which ones are done, which ones you need to work on, and then which ones you haven't even started yet. That's what the Kanban's for. It's like a workflow to be like, well, now I'm moving over here, and then now I'm done, or whatever, right? And the wiki is a way to organize information by category and have all this make sense. So I'll read off Dylan's MythoNote here, which is just my introduction and kind of explanation in words. Succinct little letter, which you can look at the word count here. It's 517 words. But this is an introduction to why I made MythoNote. This is, howdy, fellow digital traveler. I created the old concentration spell, using a little D&D reference there, or codex that produced the infrastructure you are now reading this note on. Why did I do this? Yet another note-taking spell. Enough is enough. No. There will never be enough notes in this world. I truly believe that the best notes app is yet to be made. It is out there, awaiting the hand of one sensitive young man who knows how to best interlink knowledge and provide a supremely aesthetically pleasing experience to users of all shapes and sizes. I created MythoNote with one singular dream in mind. Could I recreate the magic of original Evernote? The simplicity, the searchability, the infinite canvas of books and notes and tags, full of functional features, endless note creation, seemingly bottomless storage available offline or online, instant saves, and a basic but effective text editor interface. Evernote was my original second writerly brain. It was where I saved foundational quotes and my dream journals. The canvas served my very first stories. Evernote was where my imagination came to rest and started to ardently grow in all directions. Herein, my first Commonplace book, a collection of significant and elective artifacts from my creative worldly experiences. As the years went by, I shifted from increasingly constrained free-tier Evernote to Trello and Google Docs. I tried Bear, I used Apple Notes occasionally, and I used Google Keep constantly. The concept of my Commonplace book fell away into many pieces, no longer gathered as one pillar. Evernote's steady destruction was my personal Tower of Babel collapse, being a little bit of a drama queen. Now, here in 2026, I have gathered my mental mana for the sake of a novel spellcrafting experiment. Can I, an impassioned amateur with a humble ultra instinct design sense, make a better notes app than the OG unicorn, Evernote? Unicorn meaning it was one of those first billion-dollar companies, by the way. It was one of the OGs. Mayest I return my Commonplace book to my psionic grasp and out of the abyss of broken Tekka dreams? MythoNote is the answer to that question. Yes, I've resurrected Evernote Prime, but as a mutated being, now far stronger, faster, and more creative. In fact, I went further into the Imaginatrix than few would ever dare, all in order to deliver this digitized experience to you. Welcome to MythoNote, the ultimate digital Commonplace book. Check out Welcome to MythoNote to guide. Check out the Welcome to MythoNote guide to learn the ropes, or otherwise take a biodigital stroll through the compact, utile halls here before you, and get ready to say sayonara to every other app you have ever used. I reckon you should go create the blueprint to your next mind palace, traveler. Godspeed, Dylan Oros. P.S. Save this note or delete it. I can be regenerated from the new note menu at the base of the template, alongside with Welcome to Mytho. And then I got my own links down here if you want to check out my websites and my books and whatnot. But yeah, so Welcome to MythoNote, what's that? Okay, you can hyperlink in between notes. You right click, you can hit go back. That's a huge functional thing right there. You can hyperlink to anything by just using this, and you can hit this to go back. And then it's okay, what's a Commonplace book? Go here. Now we're in the templates book. We switch books. You can interlink between books too. It's like, I want to go back. I don't want to be in here anymore. Okay, you're back to Dylan Smith on no, right? So that's an important functionality thing. Let's practice that, right? What do we got? I want to go to that Commonplace book. You got to know the exact name. That's the key thing. Commonplace book. See, it doesn't have it because the Commonplace book has an emoji in the title. So that's an important thing too. So it's like, if you don't connect to one, then it says, do you want to create that? And you can create that, right? You can be like, I want to create a Commonplace book, and creates it right here in the thing. It's like, oh, that was a mistake. I don't need to do that. Delete it. So the way to check this is, okay, I'm going to do Commonplace book. You see the emoji, and you come down here, Commonplace book, you do copy interlink. You go back, go to action, and you say, boom, copy it, you pasted it. Now you go to Commonplace book, right? So now we're in the Commonplace book. Okay, what's a Commonplace book? That's kind of what the site's designed off of. The infrastructure of Commonplace books is basically like a filing cabinet for your notes. And it's supposed to be like a creative, reflective thing. Like, you hear a quote you like, you hear a word you've never heard of, or someone says something to you that's interesting and you want to remember it, you put it in your Commonplace book. And this is just kind of a basic structure. It's like, okay, what's the source? What year was it? You read in a book, you hear this from someone you know, what's the quote, why it matters, what's the connection? You write whatever you want, you know? Commonplace book is kind of just like a, and then the example I use is, I created this Commonplace book of Abraham Van Helsing. So as a vampire hunter, you know, what would you be writing as your interests? He's got Bible quotes. He's talking about the dead. He's talking about Miss Lucy. What kind of paraphernalia do I need to keep around me? So, okay, we got the text editor, right? And it's like, okay, I want to read this. Transylvania. What do we know about Transylvania? And it's like, okay, I want to know more about Transylvania. So now I introduce the right-click menu. When you select something in this interface, right? This is the note interface. This is the core. This is where you do 80% of your work. You can be in the note interface. You'll probably be in full screen. Maybe you're not in full screen. You don't have to be, but you can make these smaller if you want. You can make it really small and then just work like this if you want to keep the notes there. But if you want this to be normal and you want this to be like kind of normal too, then once you work and you go into full screen, right? That's kind of like the operative thing that I would do. So, okay, you're working in here and it's like, I want to know more about Transylvania. One of the things you can do, we'll start at the bottom, is look up Transylvania. And that, it auto searches Wikipedia. Boom, you're in Transylvania's Wikipedia page. You can start reading about Transylvania. And then you can also obviously copy and link it back if you want. And to link things, all you do is just select something and then hit paste. And in this case, what I had copied was that. But for a hyperlink, it'll paste it into the text. So that's something you do. You undo, redo. You do find a note. Okay, I want to know vampire appears in this text. Vampire appears 4 times. And this shows the note search. So it's like, okay, 1 of 4. 2, 3, 4. And when you go up like that, it always, see the line doesn't go down all the way because it's the end of the note, but look at this. It always lands right above the word. I coded that specifically in, and we can see that with let's do find a note, source. Watch this. Boom, 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 boom. It's hitting every source right at the line, right? And that's just a satisfying way to be like, boom, it centers your eyes right where you need to look at it. X out of a active search. So search a note's really useful because if you don't search a note, and this is the other search, it's like, okay, what kind of search do you have? Maybe I should have talked about this earlier. Search is really important in a note app, right? It's like, okay, if this is all your notes, you know, you're writing all this stuff, these are your chapters or whatever. Okay, this is your book of notes. You got a lot of stuff to search. This is all search. So this will search like, you know, I'm going to look up, I don't know, notes. And that's going to hit, you know, this going to hit this search result. Okay, it's a Commonplace books. It's welcome to, like, and as you just do the first one, it's going to show up in whatever the first one is, project notes, and then you start going down. I guess it only shows up once at the bottom. And then you go down to the Commonplace book. It's like the search results kind of stay there until you X out of this. If you X out of it, it goes away. So that's the search. And the other right-click stuff. So like you got replace a note, that does find and replace if you want to do that whole thing. Then you got bold, italic, code. You can switch it to code text, which looks a little different. Then you got insert link. So insert link is insert a hyperlink, but the same function is done by just control Ving into the text. But then you got insert interlink. Then that does the text for the interlink. So if I wanted to interlink something to one idea, then I'd have to do, one idea. And it is case sensitive, right? So you do that, and you do insert interlink, and that should take me there now, right? You go back. So that's useful, and you can do header 1, header 2, header 3. You can edit any line like that to make a header for the effects. The outline over here, that's how you control that. The outline, there's three font sizes. And then you got send line to text. So this is huge. So on top of all of this, I've created this Note app. You can see the infrastructure as I'm walking through it for you. On top of all this, it's like, okay, send to tag. What does that look like? Okay, what done looks like concrete observable. I want to save this down. I like that line. Send selection to tag. Boom, send to tag board, hit open. What does concrete look like? Observable. What the heck is the tag board? The tag board is right here. Tag board is like Google Keep, right? What's Google Keep? Google Keep is an app that lets you simulate a tag board with notes to take and discard and to set reminders, basically. So it's like a more short-term note. And you can set it here with the Evernote, it's just like what I'm calling it. Or you can set it over here. So 2 ways to add notes. And then what kind of options you got? You say, okay, you got colors. You can change the color of the notes. Very Google Keep basic stuff. You can make it small, medium, large based on how much text you're showing. You can add an image URL if you want. And then this adds kind of this. So then this is where you would need to make it larger. It adds this. Those are checkboxes. So if you say like, task 1, and then you put an X in here, you hit done. It shows up like that. And then you set an alarm. It's like, I want to set this, boom, shakalaka, this for that, boom, shock, boom, nearly due. You can send it to a book. So if you want to turn this into a note, you send it to a book. You can archive it. If you archive it, it goes over here. That stays there. And then because I sent it from that note, that's where I can send back to the note. So the tag board is just a way to interface and keep track of things. It's like, okay, this was like a reminder I had. Okay, I did it. Done. It's like, all right, I got my check mark done. Done. You delete it. It's gone. And then you can add tags to them and like organize it that way if you want. But tag board is kind of like a quick note thing that just becomes an overlay and you can easily get out of it. But it sits there and then you can interact with it like that. You send things to the tag and you can follow them. So that's like a pure functionality thing that I just love. Oh, excuse me. So that's a killer thing where it's like I combined Evernote and Google Keep. And then, so it's really about like the views, right? So it's like wiki. If you want to look at the wiki of all the templates, you can look at it here. Look at them in a bigger font. It's like dream journal, quotation, synchronicity. They say like date, right? And it's like, okay, then you can see all the results that have date in them. So it's a really fun way to like search information, right? So it's like once you have this, once you have all your information in here, it's like you can use this information so good. To put it like a caveman, you can start to understand. And then this is the pre-done mind map. This is, you can see the full like mind map lore. The pre-done mind map shows kind of the interconnecting the different wiki categories. So you got capture, project and research, story, vision and voice, world, and then uncategorized. It's like I mean, really, Commonplace book should probably be. This side can show you can move them different places. Commonplace book should probably be capture, right? And then research folder. That's project. That's right. Quotation is capture. So just a way to show I was about to sneeze. Yeah, so this is where you can categorize it. Just really, really fun informational organization here. And then searching here is really robust. Like the search here is really, really robust. I guess it doesn't appear. But if you want to keep a search, it's like, search, I'm going to be using that a lot. You could hit save. Just say, call it whatever you want. And then that shows up down here. So it's like, if this is X out of, you go hit this, searches it, boom. Shows all the places that word comes up and all the notes in the entire book. So again, the book is all of these notes. So all these notes stacked is the wiki categorizing them. And then the Kanban is putting all of them into these columns. And it's like, okay, well, I'm working on my character profile, right? I got my quotation collection done, right? That I did yesterday. My character profile is what I'm working on today. And then story outlines what I'm going to start with tomorrow. It's like, actually, no, I want to do the tarot sheet. I'm going to move that up. And then the magic design, I'm looking forward to that, etc. It's a way to organize a workflow. It's pretty simple. And you could just keep adding statuses, right? You can add like waiting in the wings. It's a good like one that sits over here or whatever. And it's like, this is all stuff that you're like, this is waiting. We're not working on this yet or whatever. And something that's really useful here, actually, it's a killer app that I haven't turned on yet because it starts off, is liquid. So what does that mean? So there's 3 different types you can think about it. So bell curves, just like this is the liquid total shows like these ones that have more are like at the top of the bell curve is like magic design system is one of the longer notes as far as word count. So that's based on word count. So it's like word count of these is the relative word count of all these. So some of the higher ones is magic design, world building, character profile, etc. Some of the ones that have barely any information is dream journal, right? It's very simple. So that's just a way at a glance to look at the relative length of your notes. So you have bell curve, you have max anchored, which kind of just changes the math a little bit, but it's kind of the same concept. But then there's 10K benchmark, which is useful. This is relative to what would 10,000 words look like in a note. I did 10,000 because that's basically like a double chapter. So imagine if this was a chapter book of information, these are all your chapters. You want to see which ones are approaching like the midpoint of a 10K benchmark, and that means you're kind of in the right place as far as a chapter length. But then if you have really long chapters, they're going to be at the high end of that. And then if you have ones that aren't reaching close to 10K and aren't even reaching close to 5K, which is kind of like average chapter length, quote unquote, then that means, okay, you're writing a lot of short chapters, which may not be a bad thing, but it's good to see it in this interface. So this is something I looked ahead on. And I was like, I know how I'm going to be organizing the chapters in this Kanban board as I write them. So this is going to be really useful to look at the 10K benchmark. And then the bell curve stuff is just to look at the relative, within its own thing. That's really useful. That's on a Kanban board. And then the mind map is, mind map's relatively simple. It's just a way to like create your flow. But of course you can change the shape of all this. You can change the colors. And the color change here reflects the same color over here. The synchronicity log now has the purple color because we changed it over there. And it should work both ways. So here is how you change color. So the right-click menu on notes is also pretty robust. Rename, copy, interlink, discrete search. Discrete search is the same thing as doing find and note. Search is just a note. You can move books, right? You can move to inbox. You can bookmark it. Protect this note. So protection just means whenever you hit protect on something, the delete button goes away from this menu, which is to prevent, and that already has a double click. So it's like, do you want to delete? Hit cancel. So you don't want to delete things accidentally, obviously. So you have a failsafe there, and then if you know this note's important, you're never going to delete it. You just hit protect, and it adds little Hamsa emoji, which is like the hand with the eye. And that's just like a ward, right? It's like a ward against energy that could be destructive or whatever. So now when you double click it, you don't even see delete. Delete's not an option. You can remove the protection. So it's not locked in forever, but there's just a way to like protect notes from being destroyed. You can also duplicate, which is really useful. Color, this is where you change the color. So you just change this to yellow now. The mind map will reflect it too. So mind mapper's done that. So you see all the interconnections, right? And the mind map is just a way to like visually see what you're doing with your notes, right? And this is just the template note, so the template book. So let's say, okay, I don't care about the template book. I want the synchronicity log. That's cool. I'll move to my inbox. I want the Commonplace book. That's cool. All the rest of the stuff, I'll look at it later. I don't really care. I'm not building a world right now. Story outline, yeah, whatever. 20 chapters. This looks like basic stuff, buddy. Who cares? Okay, you delete the template book. Fast forward 2 days. And by the way, everything goes to a graveyard first. So nothing's permanently deleted until you delete it here in the graveyard. So the graveyard interface is just, hey, this is the thing you deleted. And this is, it shows all the information still. So it's a soft delete. It even shows all this information. You just don't have as much functionality in here. Right, the mind map's just like a basic. It actually looks really satisfying. Okay, but the templates, okay, but you're like, screw it. All this stuff, I don't need it. Empty. Attack bars. And then it's like, okay, I need my inbox back. Where can you regenerate the inbox and the templates? You can regenerate the graveyard, or you can regenerate it here, the library stats. So library stats shows you kind of the stats of your total library data. And you can regenerate here. So you say regenerate a fresh pair of inbox and template. It has to do both. So you already have your inbox. Oh, I don't want a second inbox. What the heck? Oh no, it's protected. I can't delete it. Yeah, you can. You just delete it. But you need the template back, right? So you added the templates to get this back, and now you have it back. All the stuff's still here. So the templates is kind of pre-coded into the program. You're never going to lose it because you have these regenerate buttons. And this does the same thing down here, regenerate. So the graveyard is really useful to, just data backup. And we bookmarked some things earlier. So the bookmarks and the graveyard live next to each other. Bookmarks is another interface where you could just look at this information, right? It's like, I want to see just the bookmark things I have. Now you have 2 Commonplace books. And it's like, I can't delete this. It's for protection. A secret way to add protection to your notes is you just write the Hamsa anywhere. So because the Hamsa is in this note, it's protected. And then it's like, okay, I want to delete this note. I don't want it. Now, actually, it's still protected. Maybe it's coded in. I say it's there twice. No. It was this one that I deleted it from. It switched places. So yeah, deleted the Hamsa from there, and now you can delete it. So this is the bookmarks panel. Very simple. It's just like, this is stuff that you maybe want to refer to a lot. It's right there in the graveyard. And then you have tags. So the tags are, I have readme. Tags just work very simply. You just add the tag, hashtag anywhere, right? So you just had, okay, I want to add a tag called anywhere. Hashtag anywhere. Boom. Tags show up there. So tags are just another way to bookmark things basically, but you can organize it differently, right? And then you can organize it by count. This one's first now because it has 2 versus 1. And you can also create groups. So you say tag 1. It's like, okay, I want anywhere to be in tag 1, move to group tag 1. Now it shows up there, and you can drop down. So just basic organization of tags there. Tags you can use any number of ways. A lot of what books can do is already taking care of tags because you're just putting them in the books you want them to be in. But it's like, say you have like, a book you're working on. And it's like you have chapter 1. And every time you do new note, you can choose any template, by the way. That's another thing. You have chapter 2, but you also have blank note, obviously. And then let's start oldest first. So that'd be the protocol, right? If you're doing a chapter book, you want to start chapter 1 to 3 and keep them in that order. So the ways you can sort is most recently edited, very obvious, created oldest first, title AZ, wiki category, combat status. If you want to just order them you just order them whatever order you want granularly, you do wiki category, because what you can do is you do wiki category, you go here wiki, and then you can do full ordering here. You can move anybody anywhere. Right. I don't know why it wasn't working for a second, but yeah, you can just drag and drop, or you can use the arrows. The arrows change the category order, right? And then these change that order. And then if you want to change these, you just say change category. You could do it, right click on it too. So there's full functionality, but the wiki category is how you can just order however you want. But for like a book, you do want to do created. And the status of the status of this sort changes and stays the same based on whichever one you selected on. Those are all persistent. So that was like an important coding thing I did. So go to note. So chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. It's like, I've already written chapter 1 and chapter 2. I'm working on chapter 3. You do like work in process, right? And then it's like, that's a tag that would be important. These are all things I'm working on at once. You might have 2 work in process at once. And And then this is manual order. So you can do manual order as well. And then it's like, okay, I want to get rid of this tag. I don't give a shit about readme. You do delete tag, and it removes, it doesn't delete those notes, but it removes the hashtag from the note. That's a way to mass edit things. If you have a bunch of tags out there, you can just delete them here. And you can also protect tags. The tags you don't want to delete accidentally, you can protect them too. Protected tag. So that's tags. And then it's like, all right, I'm working on something, right? I have a action going. I want to keep track of my time because I'm going to go and work on this for all day or whatever. I've added a Pomodoro timer here. You see it has 2 locations you can do. It has right-click functionality as well. So this is a simple 25-minute timer. You can choose a project and you say, okay, I'm working on, this project is called action. And you hit play. Starts a timer. You can change its order. You can change it right here if you don't want to look at the timer while you're working. Full screen it. And timer starts going, auto, it keeps going. It goes to 25-minute to 5-minute break to 25-minute to 5-minute break. It does that 3 cycles or 4 cycles, and then has a 50-minute break. And you can change that also by here, work, break, and then big break. So it's a simple Pomodoro technique. If you haven't heard of it, it's very simple, like timer workflow that like helps you get into the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to work for 25 minutes, and then there's going to be a break where I can go do something else for a second. It's a good mental treadmill to like get work done. And if you can see, the time log got created. So I called it action, the time log got created. This now at the end of these 25-minute increments creates a timesheet with little tomatoes to represent how many Pomodoros you've done each day. And it adds it all up. It's very satisfying. You can't look at it right now because we haven't finished Pomodoro yet, but I assure you this timesheet is very slick. And it is a way to keep track of how much time you spent on an individual project or individual task or chapter, what have you. And then also in the data, it tracks the number of career Pomodoros you've done. So that's the third killer app. I think the killer apps here is the wiki, Kanban, mind map views that I've created. Here's your chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Have them like this. You can edit the thing like this. Boom, boom, boom. So there's your chapters, and there's your mind map, and you start organizing the wiki by maybe the chapters are in different acts, and you have the categories as acts. However you want to organize it, but this is the first killer app. It's like this viewpoint matrix of the different ways you can view the notes. Second killer app is the tack board, in my view, where it's like this is a fun way to keep track of reminders for the day that are separate from your notes. Like you don't really want to have a note of reminders because it's buried in your book. These are long-term things. The tack board takes care of the short-term stuff, right? It's like short-term daily goal. And then once you're done with it for the day, you archive it if it's important. You can also hit the pin. So this is like lesser task. You can see the difference. It's like this is now pinned up there and this one's down here, and then you can return it. Lesser task is now pinned. I finished that, delete it, etc. So this is all, and you can send all these. If you make a bunch of tasks, you're not deleting them, you're not using them like that. It's actually important notes you want to keep. You can send all of these as to the book as a into inbox. So you send it. What does that show up as? Short-term daily goals is the title. I'll do another one. I'll do goal finish MythoSuite. Put all on sale on Gumroad and Microsoft Store. MythoNote. PWA to do. So what does all that mean? Well, those are actual notes that I'm trying to keep track of. So send to book. I'm going to send to the inbox. This is actually a note. I need to start writing out a plan to do these things. Goal, finish MythoSuite, all that stuff is there, even with my typo and stuff. So that's just a way to that's the way to save things from the tack board. But you're mostly going to be using it as like a delete engine, or to take quotes you want. It's like, this is really cool. I'll send this to the tack board, and now it's there. Right, and it can save as much text as you need. It's just you're gonna have to scroll. It's not as easy to read. That's why it's kind of more short term. But then it's like even shows you where you got it from. So that's a killer app. And then the third thing is the Pomodoro timer, which is really helpful for me as a writer to understand that when you're writing, it's not just like this open gulf of time in front of you where it's like, I'm going to write today. It's like, no. If you just think about it like that, you're going to like get weirded out. You're not going to be able to get motivated. It's going to be hard for you to sit down and just start working because you're like, well, I don't know how much I have today. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to work through. How much material's in front of me before I have to start thinking really hard again. Like what's going to be easy to write and then what's going to be hard to write, etc. Basically, a Pomodoro timer is like you go from having to think about the gulf of just like writing today and just ending when you end or like figuring out what you're going to get to I'm going to do 4 Pomodoros, approximately like 2 hours. I'm going to do 4 Pomodoros of work on my novel today. I'm going to do 2 Pomodoros of work on my novel today. I'm going to do 3 Pomodoros of revisions today. That makes it so much easier to just get in the mindset and work for me. And I don't know if it works for everybody. I don't know what everybody else's process is, but as a writer where it's like, I have all these ideas. Of course I want to write. I'm excited about my stories. And it's like, it's both work and play for me. And the work side of it prevents me sometimes from just sitting down and writing when I'm not feeling it. And this is something everybody talks about as a writer, obviously, but some days you're just not as motivated, or the next thing you're about to work on is like really murky or ambiguous. And you're like, I don't even really have an idea. So I'm just going to sit there and like think about it and not get work done anyway. So I might as well just like not work on it today and think about it more, or like think about it on my next walk. It's like kind of like creative procrastination. I do that a lot. Or it's like I know I have good reasons for why I'm waiting. I'm thinking about more ideas and letting it marinate, and that's paid off enough times to where I'm now like that's a reasonable justification to not write and to like think. But using Pomodoro timers and like techniques like this to just like plan it in terms of time. I never track myself in terms of word count for a day. I always track myself on time. And for a long time, I didn't track my Pomodoros, but I used a Pomodoro timer. I would just like use a Pomodoro timer and then do like 2 or 3 and then I'd be done. Or, you know, do like 4 to 6 is like a really good day. But then I started tracking it using this website, and I've actually made a website called Hourglass. It's a Pomodoro timer that I can show later. I can include as a link in the description of this video. But so I already made a Pomodoro timer, like little micro website. That you can track your projects and keep track of data, and it has data visualization and stuff. And this, I just basically took that idea and put it as an additional app within MythoNote. So as you can see, MythoNote is just like kind of looking at the screen right here. It's like, it's a total workstation, right? You have a timer to keep track of your time that creates a time log to where if you literally, for your job, you need to keep track of your hours to see how much to bill a client, then here it is. There's a way to keep track of it right here in the form of Pomodoro timer. And then, yeah, you have the search bar, you have a tack board, you got your books here organized, and you can drag and drop these in any order, right? You want the time log to be next to inbox, book, templates. You can create as many books as you want, tags, all fine. So then it's like, okay, I haven't discussed. So you got your notes, and then you got your workstation, you have your viewpoints. So then it's like, okay, my book is done, right? All my chapters are there, so to speak. I need to export it. You can export the book. You can export the notes in all categories, and you can export your whole library. So if you export your whole library, pretty much always do it as a JSON, unless it's like a done thing that you're presenting as like a PDF or a Word. If you do it as a JSON, that means you can re-upload it. So you could import. And import is where you can import any file, Markdown, JSON, HTML, doc, and that uploads into the library. But if you do a JSON, and it uploads exactly the categories and all the things you had saved. If you do a PDF, then it's going to do like a little bit of lesser version of an import. So that's part of it also, is this is all local save on your desktop, and it'll save on your browser. If you wipe your data, it's like all these websites work the same as far as like it's all local saving, and it saves to your browser, and whatever your browser storage limits are, which you're not going to approach it with these apps because they're not using enough data or whatever. But if you add a lot of images to your notes, it'll start to add up. Which you can copy and paste images into any of these boxes, by the way. Like you can take this and put it over here. This is just any image online you can just do, and then you can resize it however you will. But that adds data. So that'll show up here when you hit data. So templates has book usage data. I guess the inline image isn't showing up. Normally it's like a bunch of pink data to show where that's all your images taking space. So you got word count and stuff, and then there's a data visualization here that I haven't showed yet. It's actually really cool. This shows all the different ways your notes are interlinked, and the cubes you can regenerate to be different shapes. If you want to do spheres, here it is. So the inbox has the notes, welcome to MythoNote, Dylan's MythoNote. You can click and go to notes, obviously. Mission accomplished, idea, action. And then if you have mind map links, that's what these are. These are all the templates. If you have interlinks from the notes where you click between links, that's the blue. So those have that. And then if they have both mind map and that, then they have the purple. So magic system, settings, Bible, etc. So this is just a way, and if you get really crazy, like I can show this same thing. It says like center. It's like, here's the book up here, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and so you want to go there, it takes you right there. So the data is a fun thing to be like, you can see what your word count is on your books, which is useful. Total books and all this in your library, the visualization is really cool. And then you can look at the notes here by largest to smallest, and they generate templates. And then the other thing that's useful is syncing. So if you want to auto resize the columns also to default, that's a useful thing to do here. But the syncing works to where if you're on, so it's not working for me because I'm on Brave right now, which Brave is Chromium based, but Brave doesn't work because it blocks a bunch of things because it's a really safe browser. That's why I use it. Brave doesn't let you do sync. But all this, if you read it, explains that if you're using Chrome, for example, or Edge, then you can save the folder down in your computer into a folder and then connect that folder to your Google Drive or your OneDrive or whatever you're using for your cloud save storage. And you can directly link your saves to this as you're writing in it to that folder that will auto save into your cloud storage. Maybe it sounds complicated. If you know what all this is, it is not complicated, but Dropbox, iCloud, Google Drive, etc. You can connect it to that. But if you're using Brave like I am, you can't do that. So then it's like, how do you save this? Well, it saves in your browser, but that doesn't mean it's secure because your browser could get wiped by a cleaning service, such as one of the ones that you wipe your data on your browser every so often to clean it off. So then that would wipe it. So that's dangerous. So the way you save and back up is old school data management. And I'm actually thankful that these websites, especially this one, where you're going to care most about the data, and being able to save it and then re-upload it to continue working on it rather than saving it and just exporting it, kind of like mind map, you would do that. But then MythoQuest has this same thing where it's like data management. What does it mean? It means you need to manual sync your offline home base, manual save. Manual save means you save a whole library of your JSON of everything in the notebook. So saving everything as a snapshot, what it looks like right now as a JSON. You save that in your folder, save it down multiple places. That's your backup. Then when you start a new day or you want to upload things from a default, or you're in a new location, you're on a website, then you do manual upsync, and that uploads the entire library and replaces everything with whatever you're upsyncing. So this is a way to save things down, re-upload them. The danger here is if you make sure you have a backup of your stuff, because say you're operating off of this and you're uploading something new, if it's an outdated version and what you had maybe was the last save or something, this will replace what you have open. So that's even if it's an outdated thing, you should save down what you have just in case you're about to lose it if you overwrite it with the manual upsync and you didn't have a save and maybe you need it. So this kind of explains the danger of this and what you should do. Best practice, you should save to your desktop as daily reach, save to a backup folder, and then save to downloads as a rolling history or something. And that's a good data management. Do 3 independent locations to where you always have a backup of backup. So this is just kind of some syncing lore and how to keep track of that. But this isn't the only place you can manual save. Manual save saves the library as a JSON. You can also just hit export library here and you save it as a JSON. So this and that function are the exact same thing. And then all these other ones are printing it out as various types of documents: basic, Word, PDF, HTML, Markdown. And Markdown is good for feeding into AI models and whatnot. So that's all the functionality basically of the entire website. Other than, right here, I'll use action. I'll use mission accomplished as the example. Set word count. I haven't shown that yet. So you can add imgur links. This is just I'm I'm self-hosting an image on Imgur. I think I actually saved this from like Wikimedia Commons. All three of these I got from Wikimedia Commons, which is a place you can use this image hosting that's already out there, where I searched idea, and this was like one of the things that came up. So I took the Imgur link of it, or I saved it to an Imgur, and then you just have to host it and then find the .i independent link of it and then paste it, and that's how you get images in here. It's a pretty basic way to host images elsewhere, where those images there are not hosted on this website, they're hosted on Imgur. So that's why there's no data management through this interface. So let's say, okay, action, or no, mission accomplished. I want to set a word count goal. Well, I want it to be 60. Ah, you did it, 100%. So that's a fun way to track. So say like, I just started writing, I'm at 20. Oops, that's the word count goal. Let's say I wanted to get to 200 and we're at 60 because it's counting whatever's in here. Okay, then that's what the bar shows as, right? The bar also shows up there. So that's a fun thing to where if you want to look at that and you want to see your progress day to day and whatever your word count is in your chapter, your novel, whatever, you can keep track of the progress here. And then if you cleared the bar by a lot, you know, it's 300%. It's like it goes over, right? It's like 35, 171%. It's like green bar, yellow bar, and then you do like I don't know, like 24. It's like yellow bar goes into purple bar, and then purple bar is the absolute maximum, 6,000%. It's just pure purple. That's just a fun way to be like, whatever you're predicting it's going to be your total word count on the thing, you can go over it, and then you see the overage a little bit in the fun way on the sidebar and over here. And if you don't want it to show up in the sidebar, you just hit there and that goes away, but it saves the data, right? If you want to clear it, you have to hit clear and it goes away. So that's a fun thing. The little progress bar is a little like quality of life. Like, I know some people will really appreciate the dopamine of seeing that green bar, and I know I will when I'm working on my novels, working out of here. That's kind of the last thing. I mean, import, export, full screen, like you've seen all the functionality here. And yeah, it's just, and then I have the daily prompt where you can, there's a prompt, I created 700 like story, kind of esoteric story, things to ponder, questions, character profiles, like daily writing exercises is kind of the core thing. And it's just I didn't want to be super intrusive with the daily prompt. Like I could do a ton of stuff here, right? I just have a prompt. Your character has one secret incompetence they have hidden from everyone, including themselves. Interesting, right? And then Astro is just astrological day. What is it? It's Tuesday, May 5th. The sun's in Taurus. The moon is waning gibbous. Oh, this is interesting. I do want to use this as a prompt. You saved inbox. Shoots it in your inbox. And then I have this little secret comment here. So this is actually a secret functionality I haven't talked about yet. What is a comment? That's not just something that's in the text. It's related to the mind map. So comment: to gain the vital knowledges of earth and heaven, go to invisiblecollege.live. What is that? So all links open in a new tab through the software as well. So it's like open up in your browser and then goes through here. So Invisible College is one of the first things I worked on when I was starting to get involved with like vibe coding. I wanted to make a website that could house like kind of all of my notes and information that I've been gathering from some of the reading I've been doing over the last few years, which has a lot to do with esoteric knowledge, magic, the history of the religions, the history of magic, the history of Kabbalah, the history of Christianity. I'm reading the Bible right now. And I have this kind of interactive idea, which is really inspired by like museums. It's like really thinking about how to create and curate a museum type experience, but in a digital setting and for the mind information. And as you can see with some of these psychedelic backgrounds and ideas I have of, it's also an artistic piece the website's supposed to be. And actually like this interface right here, this home screen by itself is already supposed to be its own piece of art, right? Invisible College, open source education and ancient wisdom traditions, Kabbalah, Hermeticism, Taoism, new classes coming soon. And that's the Hermetic symbol. And then I do have email subscription you can engage with Invisible College, which I send out weekly. I did a daily tarot explanation for the 22 major arcana during the month of April. So I have a subscription through Button Down. You can join the newsletter. And it's very simple, non-intrusive, just pure informational. You can learn something every time you read it type newsletter. I'm not trying to like I have a few recent newsletters I've written that are about some of the MythoSuite stuff that I'm creating. So I'm baking it into some of the products and like things that I'm selling. So it is about like obviously self-promotion, and it's my own writings. But it's also something I think people will appreciate. And this website, Invisible College, is completely free. And it's me compiling a bunch of information about the various things I've been learning and kind of taking my notes that I would be taking in Google Docs or Trello or Evernote and externalizing them into website interactive experiences that I think people can really appreciate and learn. So I won't go through all of them right here, but like I have, a lot of wings now that I've completed with the Invisible College, starting with the Tree of Life, which you can go, and this is the first one I created. It's an interactive Tree of Life, which I kind of recreated on that tarot index, if you remember. But it shows the Tree of Life, the 10 Sephiroth, the 22 paths. So it's interconnecting the tarot with the Sephiroths. Tiferet is in the heart. Read more on Wikipedia. A lot of this is sourced just from Wikipedia information. So when I say open source, it's because I'm just getting this information from encyclopedias, from online resources, from the Bible, the .org websites, archive.org, the stuff that like free information that's already out there. I'm not trying to recreate the wheel or create new content in that regard. I'm creating interactive experiences that display the content in a satisfying way, right? So there's deeper levels to the Tree of Life. There's the pillar of mercy. I have explanations for that. And then the lightning path shows this is how energy moves through. So you can get a greater understanding by looking at that on or off, right? It's just a little satisfying experiment. And then there's the 4 worlds the emanations are in. Again, you could look at this all day and like learn a lot of things. And that's like kind of the idea behind it. Kind of the days that I spent making this is really just one day making this. I did that. And then there's a tarot. This is my first like kind of tarot creator. And then it has the footer where you can connect to the other websites. And this is the whole tarot deck. So you can go through and read kind of like one simple interpretation description of it with some upright, reversed. And a lot of this is from the AE Weight deck. He has a lot of information. And then there's the cards down here you can look at, which are the 10 Sephiroths as cards, just more information. So that's just one example. You can go down the line. Hermetica is, again, it's like kind of like a museum experience explaining the Hermetic principles, like who is Hermetica, Hermes. If you're into any of this, if you know anything about this, it's a pretty deep subject. And I wanted to make like informational kind of experiences that kind of explain like who is Thoth, the god of writing, the cosmic scribe. These characters we've heard about in the past, but like, I'm learning about, and I kind of want to solidify the information in like a beautiful way. It's like, this is just a 1-page landing page on the Hermetic principles. You got Hero's Journey, the monomyth, talking about Joseph Campbell, interactive experience. We kind of explain the ordinary world, Call to Adventure, Gandalf, R2D2, Paul Atreides, Odysseus. It's just like something that I would show like a class of like high school students that are learning about writing and trying to come up with their own narratives or something. It's like, here's the hero's journey. Let's read about the initiation, the return. I have my own things I've written. I've gone deep on the hero's journey. The Hero with 1,000 Faces is one of my favorite books. And it's also just a way for me to display some like wonderful, immaculate art. And then a little bio and a thank you to Joseph Campbell, one of the great writers. Showing off little William Blake. And yeah, so this is, again, I'm not going to go through all of them. Jesus, I did a full rundown for Easter weekend. I did a full rundown of Jesus's life, which has the whole Jesus story, the meaning of the Gospels, the meaning of the crucifixion, the Gnostic Jesus. There's like Gnostic knowledge of Jesus, nativity, baptism, like the full hero's journey of Jesus on a single website. And there's a lot of rich information here. I even use the same ideas of the temptation in the wilderness. Like you see Jesus's full journey. Very powerful website. I had a lot of fun making this. And it was a way for me to display all of this great art of Jesus. Really, really powerful website that I think is something that culturally, I think, this is the type of thing that I want to contribute to the world. And this is how I want to create using these AI tools. This is vibe coding by using real resources and real information and real architecture that I think is like openly available. It's all out there. I'm taking it and creating an interactive aesthetic experience that interconnects to these other websites where you can get a full rundown and a comparative understanding of the different major like elements and they're not all related to religion, but they're all related to like knowledge, esoteric stuff, spirituality, the meaning of the human being, like how we pass on information, and like what are the sacred truths of the world, like what are the stories that were told in the Bible, and what are the stories that were told, in the Eastern world. And like I want to get into like Islam as well, learning about it, and I want to learn more about like Taoism. Taoism is one of the latest sites I made. We have the Holy Grail, a lot of the stories and books related to that. We have the Gnostic cosmology, the Gnostic Jesus, the Barbella, the Nous, the Demiurge, a lot of crazy information there. The Gospel of Thomas, the secret Gospels they found later. People will dispute them. They say they're not real, but a lot of wild information that changes, the ways of Christianity. Gnostic Christianity were like heretics and branded, and like all of their books got burned, and like some of their core books got discovered in like the 20th century. So this is like a conversation that's like restarted with regard to Christianity. This is one of my favorite sites. This goes back to college and learning about philosophy and getting really into philosophy. And I made a site just dedicated to Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, and just going through and kind of, again, showing some of the great art and statues. You got Socrates and the basic ideas that they contributed to philosophy and how they started things. Care of the soul, unity of virtue, Socratic problem, and then the story of Socrates and his trial and death, and then the figures that were around them, before them, after them, influenced them, or were right after them. In between, key figures, the pre-Socratics. So you got Anaximander is a big one that I learned a lot about in that philosophy class I took in college. Then you got Plato, the middleman, and he is one of the most important of the three, arguably. You got World Soul, Demiurge, Philosopher King, and Amnesis, Tim and Aristotle, and the figures contemporaries of Plato, Diogenes, a legend. Okay, and then you got Aristotle. Aristotle is teaching Alexander the Great, Four Causes, Unmoved Mover. They each have their own, things they contributed. Really good. Aristotle with the bust of Homer. And then you have the Hellenistic schools, Neoplatonism. And then the Socratic method, a little walkthrough of the information about the Socratic method. And then the sacred texts, like what to read, and the timelines of their lives and information. And that's it. And, kind of the aim of ours is not to represent the outward appearance of things, but the inward significance. That's what I'm trying to do with this information, right? So Philo, and we got Alchemy. Alchemy is one of my favorite sites. A lot of really good art on the Alchemy site, especially at the bottom. Here we go. And yeah, I really love this slideshow of this is called the Splendor Solis, the Vessels of the Art. It's just a really immaculate old medieval painting of kind of showing the world and the heavens, the earth, the goings on, and then the central vessel is kind of showing the alchemical stage that's taking place in society almost. And there's a number of ways to interpret these art, but as you can see, it's like alchemy has all this lore, right? Isaac Newton, he wrote a million words on alchemy. Helveticus, Robert Boyle. We got John Dee, Paracelsus, Nicholas Flamel's my goat. He's my favorite of all of them. I mean, Hermes Trismegistus, the OG, he's the guy, founder of Hermetica. But you read all these are real figures, right? These are real art of them too. And these are the people that tried to find the Philosopher's Stone, that tried to turn lead to gold, that were doing alchemy. And this is a long history that goes through thousands of years, right? This is Newton's the last alchemist, right? The last magician is what he was called. Perhaps you're the next one to seek the stone. But yeah, the alchemist side is just a great way to learn about the history of alchemy. If you've ever been interested in the subject, came from a bunch of different traditions. And like I said, a lot of good art, explanation of this alchemical symbols, red king, white queen. Those are meaning the central thing is this interactive. Okay, what are the stages of alchemy? Nigredo, the blackening, albedo, the whitening, Citronidus, the yellowing, the peacock, the solar dawn, and then rubedos, completing the great work. There's just some great interactivity and lore here to see how alchemy works. You can see what the planetary metals mean, the planetary energies, gold, sun, copper, quicksilver, what they mean, what day of the week they represent. And this is some of the core, starting lore, philosophical foundations. Hermes Trismegistus, Aristotle's Four Elements, Platonic world, Mercury, sulfur, macrocosm, microcosm. So it's just these satisfying ways of presenting all this information. The Tao Te Ching is a way to look at the Tao Te Ching. You can draw the full text. This is open source, public domain, 1800s text of the Tao Te Ching, which has been around for thousands of years, older than the Bible. And this is every chapter. So you can search the chapters, you can also just read them, and then you can learn about Lao Tzu, who's the founder of Taoism. His like interaction with Confucius is like a legendary moment. Kind of apocryphal mythological figure. The core tenets of Taoism. If you ever wanted to learn anything about Taoism, same thing. Really satisfying website to just learn about this stuff. And these are real photos of Taoist temples in China. Where to begin? What are the essential chapters to read to get the full thing? Because it's 81 chapters that are all separate, independent thoughts. Very interesting way of reading a document. And then there's these different lore about it and the translators. So the translators, it's very esoteric and difficult to translate. So every translation kind of gives new knowledge about it. Ursula K. Le Guin translated the Tao Te Ching. Just some information here, kind of giving people like where to go. Obviously, you got to go buy all this stuff yourself. The James Leggett translation is open source and public domain because it's that old. So that's what I'm using for the site. And then Confucius and kind of some of the other schools of thought that arose in opposition or kind of in mutual accord, like Buddhism with Taoism, are kind of interrelated. The Tao in the West, kind of the West, how they interacted with it. And then the core idea of like the river, some Taoist immortals, really full of fun old art. But yeah, Taoism is really interesting. And then I've been reading the Bible, and this is actually up to date right now with what book I'm on. I just finished Joshua. So I've created a Bible wiki. I guess I'm going through all the websites right now, but that's fine. So it's basically like, it's not reprinting the Bible. It is giving an overview of the Bible, the structure, the people, events, locations, key passages, divine interventions, influences upon God. I thought that was interesting as I was reading it. It's like the times where Noah or Abraham or Moses, they intercede on behalf of the people, and they're like, wait, don't smite them all. Don't kill them all, please. They made a mistake. They sinned. They did the wrong thing. They're worshiping someone else. Sorry. Please don't kill them. And how like God's like, all right, I won't do it. You intercede on their behalf, Noah or Moses. Therefore, I will not do this. I thought that's very interesting. And then you start to categorize things that way. And again, this is using Claude Opus to like, I'm giving him the Confraternity edition, which is the Bible that I'm reading. You can get the Bible online for free. And then like, okay, read the Bible with me and to help me organize the information. And like, you know, it's organizing in a way that I could never imagine doing this much work to create these notes. But then you can come back, and it's not the same thing as rereading the Bible. I have the final section is the featured passages, where I do have full text of certain passages that are key, which is the Confraternity edition. It's a Catholic Bible from the middle of the 20th century. It's my grandfather's, and it's the first time I'm reading the Bible in full. So I'm reading this old 1960s Bible. And these are the key passages that I found the most compelling. For example, Genesis, the creation, Tower of Babel, Binding of Isaac, Jacob wrestling Phanuel, this mysterious angel figure, is really fascinating. And then Joseph's whole revealing revelation in Genesis at the end. And Joseph's story is actually my favorite part of Genesis, the end of Genesis. And they have Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. I mean, Deuteronomy and Numbers, like Leviticus, the blood sacrifices, the Holocausts. Yeah, the Bible's wild. Like I'm mostly familiar with the New Testament, and I'm straight up reading the whole Bible, which means the Old Testament too. And I'm this far, and it's amazing how much is in there, and how much there is to learn. But yeah, Project Bible Wiki is a lot of very interesting for me. I definitely want to read the whole Bible this year. I need to keep working on it. I'm trying to read one book per couple days per week at the latest. But yeah, this is a website I've been working on. I've kind of shared it with my family only. But yeah, the Bible's now on the Invisible College as well. Psycho-Cybernetics, which is a self-help book. And then Simulacra, which is a site dedicated to John Baudelaire's work, the French philosopher that, if you've read him or you know his concepts, you know that we're living in his world right now. his concepts feed into a lot of accelerationism, and I think a lot of the hyper reality, the postmodern stuff. Like, again, he's a lot like Nietzsche, where he's saying all this stuff and he's not saying, yeah, postmodernism and like unreality and simulacra and like simulation is good. He's saying all this, he's pointing all this stuff out as fact. He's not saying it's good. He's saying, like, this is the reality we were entering. Are we ready for it? What are we doing? And if you read his work now, and the reason I got interested enough to make this site actually is the Pope posted something about simulation theory and was basically making a Baudrillardian point. And I was like, I need to go back and read more Baudrillard, because I hadn't read any of his books. I'd only read some of his like philosophy, like his articles and his like quotes. So I had a good understanding of how he worked, but this site is fascinating. Like, I would highly recommend checking this out. It's very aesthetically pleasing as far as the information here. The philosophers saw it coming. So yeah, he's talking about simulacra. John Baudrillard saw it coming. 45 years ago, he diagnosed the condition the rest of us are now drowning in, a world where the image arrives before the thing it depicts, where wars become television programs, where the simulation seduces us more deeply than the real world ever could. This is the room where we look at the diagnosis, into the hyperreal. So it's like the reflection, the mask of absence, and then pure simulacrum. Pure simulacrum is like images without, it's like copies without originals. So it's AI generated things. It's like perfect example of this. So simulacra is a bit of a trip. If you will go through this site, I highly recommend it. It's about to be midnight. You can tell right here in the top corner, about 1 minute away from midnight. Anyway, so this is the Invisible College project, and this is directly related to the tarot site MythoCards. It's directly related to kind of how I've crafted and started to organize my ideas and my stories, and how I'm gaining kind of like a foundation and wisdom traditions in order to write better novels and to create better characters with real philosophical cores to them, which is really what Cyber Serial is about, is like characters that have real philosophical principles that I want to fully explore in the novel. And in order to understand philosophy, which I've been studying my whole life, but I still feel like a beginner, is you have to read a lot and you have to understand things, interconnections. You have to read history. Philosophy is not just about like reading like Immanuel Kant and like Albert Camus. I mean, Camus is a bad example because he writes novels that exhibit his philosophy as well, which is the ideal way to do it. Is about actually expressing those ideals and expressing those philosophies and exploring them through characters and through creativity and through, like, the best way to get philosophy ingrained actually is not to read philosophy books, is to watch movies with that display of philosophy, because movies give you an emotional understanding, an emotional connection that you can't really get if you're just reading a philosophy book. It's the reason people call it dry. Every writer is different. Albert Camus is a perfect example of one that's not dry. His writing is like really, really like sings off the page, even when he's just not writing fiction and he's writing about philosophy. He has really clear clarity to his tone. Whereas if you read Immanuel Kant, it's more dry. You read Descartes, it's more dry. Descartes. You read Soren Kierkegaard, it's very mythical and esoteric and spiritual. But actually, Kierkegaard's one of the more entertaining writers you can read if you really get into him. He's really funny too. Anyways, Invisible College represents a lot of my learnings in philosophy, and that's undergirding my philosophy and my creative instinct behind writing my novels. And it feeds into everything I'm doing here with MythoNote. And the MythoNote now is going to be my workstation to continue outlining and writing my novels and gathering more ideas and planning out more wings of the Invisible College. As you can see, I have more planned. I want to do on Carl Jung. That's a big one I have planned. And then I'm reading Dante's Inferno. And I want to read Paradise Lost as well and kind of compare and contrast Dante and Milton, because I know they're two of the best writers of all time, and I really want to start reading more classic literature. I read the Iliad 2 years ago. I read the Iliad last year, and I read the Odyssey this year. I finished the Odyssey. So I want to read more, and I want to incorporate some of that and kind of create like a more library, like museum type experiences, because none of these experiences are meant to be like, you can go to my Invisible College site on the alchemy or the Tao Te Ching, or God forbid, the Bible, and that be a replacement for experiencing the thing I'm referring to. No, it's more of like a way to be like a tastemaker, or to introduce you to these concepts side by side. Not to say these are all equal. Jesus is equal to everything else on this page. It's just, these are important philosophical and ancient and wise and like knowledgeable things that I'm learning about, that I want to share with the world, and then I feel I have an aesthetic sense about how to organize and create for other people. So again, Invisible College is also important because it's also showed me how to organize information, how to organize web pages from scratch, and how to design a website that is satisfying from an aesthetic experience and from a quality of life and user experience, UX, right? Everything I'm talking about is actually user experience maximization. And anyway, so Invisible College, that's me, and little like another Easter egg link to something I've created that's within the infrastructure of MythoNote. Of course, you don't have to save to inbox these daily prompts. You don't have to interact with the daily prompt at all. That's really the only thing other than the logo that's here that's not purely functional and customizable to whatever you want to do with it, right? The logo's here. You can't do anything about that necessarily. And then you have your daily prompt, which is like, I'm forcing this down your throat. If you don't care about astrology, whatever, right? But I'm just showing you the day. And it's like, it's nice to know what phase the moon is in. Maybe you care about that. Oh, and then we have a time log now, so I can show you this. So this is what it looks like when it fills out. So you have the day it started, you have lifetime. So this is like, it's going to count up however many times you do this cycle, and you have this note selected. And the way to change it is the project's action right now. If you want to see that in full, it's down here. You just X out of that to disconnect from the project. You can add a new one. And then it's like, it starts to, show some metadata on this. And the full-time logs is just, this is the bullet point straight up. And then there's this short thing down here about who developed the Pomodoro technique and what it's for. But yeah, each one you do, another tomato will be added on the day. And it kind of stacks up like that. So it's kind of satisfying. Anyway, so this has been the full walkthrough of the MythoSuite. I don't really have anything else to say other than, yeah, I mean, I'm going to send the link to the article version of me explaining all the features and walking through the sites in the description of this video. Please check out my other videos if you want to see some of my pitches for my books. I have author diaries explaining kind of my process as well as pitching my books. And then I have videos dedicated to the book pitches. I was going to do this as separate videos. I was going to do a video for each of the MythoSuite apps. I was going to do one for MythoQuest, one for MythoMap, so to speak. But I ultimately decided to just do this full rundown of all of them side by side, I just... I got inspired to just I think it'd be fun to see them side by side. So yeah, that's been introducing the MythoSuite, and you can check out my Substack or my blog here, Thresholds of Transformation, to check out the article that's explaining this in words, as I said. So thanks for listening. This has been a long video, but hopefully one that I thought you found interesting, and I hope you check out my apps. MythoNote will be out soon on Gumroad and Microsoft Store. And as a total bundle, all of the MythoSuite apps, these 4, will be bundled together on Gumroad, as well as Itch, my Itch storefront. I'll have the full bundle there, and MythoNote will be $10, single-time purchase. You get the app, you get the link, you get the program to download. I'm actually going to PWA wrapper it into an executable. You can download it on your computer. You don't have to be online at all, or you can use it as a browser app. And it's also going to be available as a bundle. MythoSuite's bundle will be $19.99. The classic infomercial price. I got to do it. You can get all of this that I just introduced over 2.5 hours of speaking. You can get all this for only $19.99. This has been Dylan Oros introducing the MythoSuite. Thank you and Godspeed.